Wow, good evening, everybody. It's Urgent Friday with your Ass Hurts News Network. And yeah, here we are tonight. I want to talk a little bit about the Idaho 4. Maybe make a few asses ache a little more than they normally do. And do a complete simplistic analysis of where we're at in this case. It's rather impressive where we're at with this case. I will say my opinion of Ann Taylor is, unfortunately, she's frustrated. And she does not have enough support there. She needs more attorneys on her side that are part of the case, that understand the case, and it's too late in the case to get there. So we do have what we do have. We are left with the hello there, Miss Dakota. We are left with what we're left with. Still there? Can you still hear me? Am I still there, ladies and gentlemen? Share screen. Window. I don't want Google Chrome. I want this one. Oh, I think I've got to keep that up. There you go. That's the one I want. Just so you all can call in. Let me change that. Change that. There you go. There you go. Am I still here? Can you hear me? A simple yes or no in the chat room would be wonderful. That could be a Y or an N or a 1 or a 2. Right. Yeah. So it did disconnect me. I'm wondering if this is still streaming. I have to go over to X, see if I show up on X. Let's see what we got here. Over here on the Rumble. I don't know. Rumble's taking up. There's 2 people in there. There it is. It shows me over here on X. The best Idaho summation on the internet. In the world. Anywhere you'll go. Nothing will sum up what's been happening this month more clearly than I will, folks. I will make the complex very simple and very stupid to understand, which is what Ann Taylor needs on her fucking defense team. And I'll get to it right shortly. But how was everyone's weekend? We're having like a mild windstorm up here. I was blown several times over the weekend and found it rather enjoyable. And so now we're having a windstorm outdoors. I figure, if I'm going to get blown, everyone should get blown. Why not? I'm a guy that likes to share. What can I say? I've been trying to find 12 gauge and a whole bunch of all these other streamers out there. I listened to Lana. She had like a 9-hour stream, but I jumped through it so that I could watch the hearings through her channel, and that worked out rather well. And I see a lot of people making a lot of valid points, but I think that hearing was important to only one point, and the point that I think is being missed by Judge HIPPLER. By the way, Judge HIPPLER, you fucking stupid mother. Well, you probably don't even do that. You probably fuck hand puppets, for God's sakes, just by the looks of you there, Mr. HIPPLER. You fucking twit. Because he's not seen past what Ann Taylor is putting down, and Ann Taylor isn't putting down anything that he's going to see. They're both on 2 different fucking train tracks. And HIPPLER is right. That's the problem. When you do discover a piece of the information that's completely unquestionably correct, and he's interpreting Ann as arguing against his point of view, and he's not, and she's not, I'm sorry. Ann is not arguing that the transfer DNA found on the knife sheath is protected under the 4th Amendment right in the Constitution. He's saying that. The prosecution has made the big statement about that, but Ann never said and is not saying at all that the DNA on that sheath couldn't have been tested by police. She's simply not saying that at all. She's not even arguing as to strictly that it isn't Brian's. She's not even arguing that technically. And this is where my summation, I think, trumps everybody else's out there. By the way, Trump is doing very well. He's starting to eradicate the government of the criminals that are within, at least to the extent that he can. So let me clean this up so that people get it. the presentation of the hearings this past week, somehow Judge HIPPLER got some idea, I don't know where he got this from, that Ann is claiming DNA found on a knife sheath is protected by Brian Koberger's Fourth Amendment right, or Fourth Amendment protection. It's not a right, it's a protection, okay? And she isn't arguing that at all. Here's what Ann Taylor is saying. And this is important when you consider that we now know of the 4 DNAs, 3 of them being unidentified. There was blood on a handrail and blood outside in a glove. And there was apparently what they claim transfer DNA on a knife buckle or a knife button. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but let me just clarify her argument. Her argument isn't that you use the transfer DNA to identify a suspect. She's not arguing that. She will argue the process that a sample went from the cops to Othram. Okay. And then when that sample went to the FBI, it was twice as large. That means something's been done with the sample. You can't send 1 bullet to a fucking lab and then they send 2 bullets to the FBI. So that's a legitimate question, a legitimate thing that needs to be argued and discovered. But that's getting lost. It's getting lost in HIPPLER's argument that this stuff isn't protected by his Fourth Amendment right. And what you don't understand, you stupid, bald-headed, fucking ignorant-looking judge, is simple. She doesn't question that. What she's telling you is that once they got an ID, okay, you stupid fucking magistrate that explained the fucking blood as being unexplainable as to when it could have appeared there, somehow don't have the fucking mental midget mind capacity to understand that applies to DNA as well. You stupid fuck. Additionally, the fact that they use the DNA to ID somebody, transfer DNA, isn't the fucking problem. Isn't the fucking problem at all. It's the case they built up for circumstances to explain when it got there. That's the fucking crime. The crime is simple. They identified an individual's transfer DNA, and then they went and looked to find a way to see if this person could be connected to that crime. And they built a fucking story on lies. All completely unverifiable fucking circumstances that they entered in a probable cause warrant to arrest somebody for a fucking quadruple homicide. And for you guilters out there, you stupid motherfuckers that have no fucking ability to think, transfer DNA, and DNA, as Judge HIPPLER fucking pointed out with the blood, is not enough to charge somebody with a quadruple homicide. Unless it's all over the fucking victims. And in the fucking apartment, and in the door handle, and in your car, and in your fucking shoes. And now you don't need to, now the evidence becomes the circumstantial evidence you need to fucking charge somebody. It tells you. Look over here, you stupid fucking cop-loving motherfuckers. I'm DNA. I'm on the door handle. I'm on her shoe. I'm in her fucking hair. I'm on her makeup bottle. I'm on her bedspread. I'm on the carpet. See, now you don't need circumstances. You don't need to make up this fucking story like that stupid fucking Jeff H. that fucking sucks the dick a 12 gauge. He did a U-turn. Not after listening to these hearings, you stupid fucking ignorant motherfuckers. Everything in the PCA is false. It isn't circumstantial evidence at all. It's a lie. You ignorant cocksucker Judge HIPPLER. You ignorant, dumb, dirty, low-down, uneducated, no fucking IQ jerk-off. It's a lie. There are no circumstances to place Brian Koberger in that house. None. That DNA cannot tell you when it got there. Okay? As a matter of fact, if you want an actual fucking description of how it got there, ask the fucking cops in the labs. That's how it got there. Because a knife with skin cells on it, skin cells that fall like fucking snow. Okay? You picked up a knife sheath that you claim was not only under the comforter, but under the victim button side down. Button side down. So how the fuck did any transfer DNA remain on that fucking sheath? You mean to tell me it wasn't loaded with the victim's fucking DNA? You mean to fucking try to tell me that that knife was completely clean, but in the button snap there was fucking transfer DNA of Kohlberger? Okay, so how does that make that Kohlberger's knife? Under what fucking stupid, ignorant motherfucking point of view are you going to use to make the argument that that proves that's his knife? You can't. What argument are you going to use to prove that that took place the night of the crime without the fucking murder weapon? Well, you can't. What is the murder weapon? You don't know. That's what's wrong with you fucking people that don't want to think about the data in front of you. And not the fucking Banfield, not the fucking camera down the fucking street, not the stupid fucking car up on Linda Lane. No. Let's pay attention to the ignorant. And you're all no better than Judge HIPPLER. You're a bunch of ignorant, blind fucking, you're focused on a particular point of view and you can't get your eyes to move. Yeah. I'm sorry, folks. I can't sit here and talk like that fucking jerk off Pavarotti and them other motherfuckers that put on this fucking con job act. I look things up. I do this. Where's your common sense, Pavarotti? Where's your fucking common sense, people? I don't have any real issue with Lana. I disagree with a couple of points that Lana has made. But then on one point that I disagreed, I went and finally was able to hear the whole hearing. And I was wrong in my disagreement. However, that's perfectly fine to have that kind of level of disagreement. She had facts I didn't have at the time I made a comment. I don't know if anybody ever read my comment, if they ever will. But the point is, I admit my comment was inaccurate. It was wrong. And I didn't go run and delete it. I don't even know if people could have commented or attacked, do whatever you want. I was wrong. Well, it's not so hard to fucking admit when you're wrong, right? It's insanity that folks don't seem to understand that probable cause is not some fucking cop just deciding it's you. She's making the point that after they got the ID, and only after they got the ID, and that the ID was 100% based on transfer DNA, 100% based on genealogy work that was done in databases that are not allowed for them to be in, and that they didn't. Here's the thing. You can break that guideline, but if you're going to break that guideline to find an identification, and that identification, right, could be used in court somewhere, you got to save the research on that. That's not a guideline. That isn't a fucking suggestion. Okay? That isn't a fucking, the suggestion is in the first fucking paragraph. Just as the prosecutor pointed out, the second paragraph trumps the first paragraph. That's perfectly fine, you prosecuting fucking genius. However, the standards that then you must fucking follow include any fucking chain of custody, any person in the line of that work, any movement of the sample or non-movement of the sample and its security apparatus for the fucking sample. I feel bad for Ann, not because Ann isn't a good lawyer, but because she doesn't have, like we have, us fucking morons out here, the time to dedicate. She can't sit out here for 10, 12 hours a day. Okay? She can't, she's got other cases to do. She's got a fucking job. No, it's touch DNA because she brings up the fact that they found blood DNA at the scene. They got 3 unidentified male DNA samples at the scene. 2 of them are blood samples. 1 on a glove outside the property. And I'm going to say something else, and this goes to Dago, and it goes to everybody connected to Rory except for that filthy fucking no good piece of shit Tommy Jude. The rest of you, though, I give this to you freely, okay? I said a long time ago, in trying to teach some of you how to fucking think, that when a close friend of fucking Bethany came forward and out of the complete blue said she saw somebody naked running away from the property, and everybody thought that was the fucking lie, and they went and listened to that fucking Dot. And you went and listened to WSU Kim. And I said that is so arbitrarily opposite of everything we've heard that you can never lose sight of that. You need to write that down on your chalkboard. You need to put that in on your whiteboard. You need to take a fucking Post-it note and keep that in your memory. That fucking outrageous fucking claim that went right in the first weeks of this. And I said, that is so fucking off the wall and so contradictory to everything we're being told that you must not forget that. And now what are we being fucking told? Wow. Thinking is not hard. It's easy. Believing is easy. It's easier than thinking, obviously, because it's too many people out here believe in one way or the other, guilty or innocent. And then you'll only digest information that supports your theory. I said in the beginning that whole fucking probable cause affidavit was exculpatory, and there was no mention of anything in there that put Brian Kohlberger at that house. What up there? Hummingbird Mouth, Mark Betty, Grant Clarkson, Listen, Linda, RNA. I like that. Did I miss her ever talking about? No, she did bring that up. There is transfer DNA in that knife. You know, and look at you, just Jug HIPPLER is right. This is the problem when you have, how many of you heard her say, well, I hope we don't live in a country where just one thing puts somebody in prison. You have transfer DNA at a crime scene. You have it in a very, very unusual place, a very almost mocking or condemning location for it to be. Right? Okay. How do you explain that? Well, on the night of the crime, everything you allege shows that Brian Kohlberger was everywhere except that house. Therefore, the transfer DNA is not relevant. That's how you're supposed to investigate this shit. Then you find out there's no connection between Kohlberger, electronic or otherwise. None. And there's no crime scene evidence taken from that crime connected to the accused. Listen, Brian Kohlberger was the best suspect they had. I completely accept that. I understand that. But then go back into the hearings with Judge. How many times did Judge say, well, the state has already told us that the IGG wasn't the way they identified Kohlberger, that there was an investigation. And Thompson got up that bearded, crack-smoking fucking imitation piece of shit Santa Claus and made that statement. Yes, we did that. The DNA is not the only way we identify Kohlberger. The genealogy work is not how we identify Kohlberger. That's not going to be used at trial. That's what they keep saying. We're not going to use it at trial. You lying motherfucker. That's the only way you could have identified that guy. You crack-smoking fucking mistake of a Santa Claus-looking piece of shit. That's the only way you can. And I don't object to you identifying him that way. Look at, I'm not a. And that's the problem HIPPLER's having. HIPPLER's stuck on this thing that she's arguing that his Fourth Amendment rights were violated. No. The supporting documentation, the supporting affidavits, the supporting accusations that paint the picture Kohlberger was at that house are all motherfucking lies. Every single fucking one of them. The entire PCA is a lie. So that means you can't place him at the house, but you can place transfer DNA at the house. Okay? And then anybody with an IQ above 90, you know what you do? Next suspect, next. Or you keep looking. But you don't make up a fucking story. Right? You don't hide from the fucking court what Ann showed us. Kohlberger went south. Of the two vehicles that they recorded, one went fucking north and one went towards Moscow and one went south when they left the apartment complex. Kohlberger's car is the one that went south. You fucking jerk off Jeff. Boy, I can't stand that motherfucking hypocritical fucking fake religion motherfucker. You can't have all of these fucking things being wrong in an accusation. It's like I said, you're accusing me of robbing that gas station on fucking Tuesday and I fucking robbed it on Friday. You stupid motherfuckers. You can't do that. You have to have circumstantial evidence has to lead to a conclusion that a reasonable person would make. That's all. A reasonable person. And when you put in the fucking line, the things that they consider reasonable, they're all lies. They sound reasonable the way they wrote them. They wrote them to appear reasonable, knowing that all of them were lies. They knew right away that those 12 trips that Brian Kohlberger took had nothing to fucking do. Nothing to fucking do with that property or those girls. They knew that before they put it in the PCA. That's what Ann Taylor's trying to tell the judge. None of this is investigative work as a way to determine who your suspect might or might not be. And then, whoa, lo and behold, look at this. There's fucking transfer DNA on the knife sheath. Here's another bombshell. And I think that fucking guy get a clue. He got mad at me for pointing this out before he did. He was so comfortable in his thought that he was smarter than everyone else. He must not have understood that old Sergeant Friday probably holds that fucking trophy. Fuck you, get a clue. I love you, buddy. Listen, folks. When you have a knife sheath that's face down, we know that the button has an enamel-coated paint on it. It's coated in enamel. So the brass button snap is coated in enamel. The interior of the button snap is not, because that enamel would interfere with your ability to open and close it, and it would wear off, and then your closing and opening it would become very loose. So, if that fucking knife sheath was face down on the bed as described, under the comforter and under the body of one of the victims, how the fuck could skin cells that are in direct contact with somebody's mattress, okay, the enamel aspect, the outside part of that snap, how is it that that snap was able to hold on to transfer DNA? Now, let's say it didn't, but it was inside the snap. So when you opened it up, it was on the inside. Well, that DNA would have been completely electromagnetically destroyed by the brass itself within 4 hours. There could be no transfer DNA inside that snap that was viable if it was in contact with the brass. So let's understand the transfer DNA. A, if it was on the enamel-coated part of the brass, that's kind of fucked up because that was directly in contact with the bed. Under a blanket, under the victim. It was face down. Face down means the side that has the fucking the fucking K-bars burnt into the leather and the snap button. I said that even if it was not handled properly, there was still enough for PC. I don't know what PC is. Still the most important word, PC. For what? What is PC? Please, go with it. You guys can call in 585-454-9932. Show me where Sarge is wrong. That's what they should name the show. Prove Sarge wrong. Okay? Outthink Sarge. I don't know what PC is. Linda, RN, can you tell us what PC is? What do you? Okay. Probable cause can't be a single source of evidence. Okay. Sorry about that. I just misunderstood the short. Because I get all wound up over here. All right. But the big look at the hurdle is that Judge HIPPLER thinks that Ann is trying to say that the DNA found on the sheath has got constitutional protections for Kohberger. How his little fucking brain came up with that conclusion is a problem. She's not saying that at all. She's saying all that DNA work to identify that transfer DNA. Okay. But that in and of itself can't be the basis to charge him with a quadruple homicide. Do you fucking thick-headed motherfuckers out there that think he's guilty get this? The presence of that DNA, even on the knife sheath, all by itself, is not evidence of any fucking crime by the fucking person that DNA belongs to. Okay? And then, in order to fucking make the argument that Kohberger did it, they went back into their records after they got his name and built up a case of circumstances that is a lie so that the judge would be made to believe that the DNA is pretty fucking solid when you got all of these fucking images and all of these pings and all of these stories that place Kohberger at the house. Now, folks, now you got probable cause. That's what she's saying. Take out the fucking stories that are all lies. Take out all the phone pings. Take out all the video. It's all a lie. And all you're left with is a single source of fucking transfer DNA on a button snap. We'll accept that as being Brian's. But that still does not say he was the doer of the crime or even in the house, because it's transfer. You know what says somebody was part of the fucking crime? A piece of evidence like a glove with blood in it. It's very fucking convincing. A blood fucking on a railing going downstairs. Very convincing. Let me tell you what else is very convincing. Is that those two fucking DNAs are different than Kohlberger's. That's very fucking convincing. So who the fuck are those people? Where the fuck were they that night? Where's your investigation into them? Why did you take a bunch of circumstances and then lie about them to show a magistrate that it was likely Kohlberger was involved? Why did you lie to the magistrate when Dylan gave you a description that's not what's in your fucking warrant? Which, congratulations to a lot of people that called that out. They were making a guess or they had a gut feeling. That's fantastic. A lot of you got that right. This woman, as we now know, was drunk or fucked up, and she was definitely an unreliable witness. Here's the thing, too, and this is what a lot of people, if you're out here and you're talking about true crime, understand the law to at least a competent level above your viewers. Third-party testimony in a crime is not valid when the person conveying the information isn't reliable. And a drunk, drugged up fucking woman, right, at 4 a.m. is not a reliable witness. And as somebody said earlier, and I thank you for that, when shown a picture of Brian Kohlberger, she said, no, that's not him. She couldn't identify who was in that mask. But blood on her handrail that leads up and down to the crime? And then the fact that she's claiming one of these victims were running up and down the stairs? Right? And that is completely contradictory to the crime scene? How could one of these girls be running up and down the fucking stairs? I can tell you where I think that this pulls. I'm telling you, this is what I think it pulls it into. And this is why I think Zana and Ethan were killed. Zana and Ethan were not the targets. The target was the girl upstairs with the Range Rover. Sorry, Steve. How the fuck did your young daughter, hadn't even graduated fucking college, make all that money? Was it OnlyFans? Was it one of them fucking sites where guys twiddle their fucking diddle? Right? Because your daughter's so attractive? Was she part of that, folks? Were these girls part of that? That tells you a big fucking story. How the fuck she get all that money for a Range Rover? She didn't even have a fucking job, but she worked at the Mad Greek. The fuck kind of money you make at a Mad Greek amongst college students? Come on. You're better off working at a golf course in a busy golf course country club. You want to make some good money fucking waitering, waitressing. Mad Greek, I'm sure you made some good money, but enough for a Range Rover? Come on, most of your wages are tips. They're not even fucking 1099. So that's a difficult thing when you're a waitress to even get a loan for something like that. But I guess a car loan's pretty easy to get. So my question is, folks, all of these things got ignored, the whole fucking process. Now, here's what I suggest happened. I suggested Dylan did hear people run up and down the stairs. I think that she heard Zana run up the fucking stairs to try to save the two girls that were being fucking attacked. And that she was then chased down the fucking stairs and into her room and slaughtered like a fucking dog. Ethan as well. That's what I suspect she heard. See, whether she was fucked up or not, some of what she's saying has to have some fucking validity and reality. Right? That's why I said a long time ago, abnormal things that are completely out of the fucking realm of what we're being shown and told need to be remembered. I never forgot that statement from she claimed that she was a direct friend of Bethany's and that Bethany saw a naked man running off. Okay. That completely contradicts the testimony of Dylan Mortensen. And it's unique to her experience, to what she saw and what she heard. I suspect that at this point, it's likely that Zana and Ethan or whoever, one or both, went up those stairs to see what the fuck was going on. Now we found out today that all doors were left open. Every door in the house on the inside was open. How in the fuck could the doors be open? How in the fuck can anybody walk towards Zaina's room to use that bathroom, Dylan, and not observe the dead people in that bedroom with an open door? Wouldn't an open door in the morning be unusual if there was nobody walking around the bottom floor where you live? There's so many more investigative questions that just are never going to be answered now. Because they took, like, these jerk-offs on the internet, they took a bunch of fucking unconnected bullshit and daisy-chained it to appear that proved Brian Koberger was at that house. And any reasonable person, okay, would agree with that, which a lot of you assholes that are fucking guilters, okay, I'll give you that. But the fact that you find it reasonable and don't question it shows the fucking level of fucking ignorant programming that you're allowing to come into your head. We don't know, Sally. What up, Heidi? Grant, what's going on? Listen, Linda, RN is in. Clifton Mayo. She was laundering money. We don't know that. See that, Clifton Mayo? I mean, everybody makes these conclusions. We have no answer to them. And I'm not going to say that that's what she was doing. That's why I said, was she on that fucking OnlyFans? I don't know. I don't want to impugn the girl or, offend anybody, but where did she get that money for that Range Rover? That was funny. One of the girls that I hang out with this weekend, I had paper sitting on my table, and she's like, and I buy everything in bulk, like I got, anyways. And she comes across this fucking, this canceled cashier's check, and she looks at it, and she looks at me, and she goes, "What's that?" I go, "It's what I used to buy a car." I didn't even think twice about it. And she goes, this is when I knew I was in trouble. She looks at the check and she looks at me and she goes, "What car?" I go, the Corvette. And I showed her a picture of the Corvette I got I sold the Corvette. You guys know that. Some of you that know me. But when you buy a brand new Corvette, like I did in 2021, they send you a paperweight or a display model of the car with your name. And that I still got mine. I didn't let it go with the car. I kept it. And so I opened up and it's a very formal box. The presentation, everything is like fucking, it's like you're Donald Trump. You're a rich guy. So I get the box. I put it on the coffee table. I open up my shower and she goes, "You had one of those?" I go, "Yeah, I sold it. I sold it in 2020, 23. So I owned it for 2 years, but I drove it for 3 summers, put 10,000 miles on it. And then I got more money than I paid for it." And she goes, "I had no idea you had this kind of money." I was like, "Wait a minute, bitch. Easy now. I don't have that kind of money." She goes, "Yeah, you got that kind of money." She goes, "That's kind of interesting to know." And I go, "Why is it interesting for you to know?" "Because it's my pocket, my wallet. You ain't getting none." That was funny last night. But that Range Rover is an expensive vehicle. That could be a $70,000 to $100,000+ vehicle. That's no joke, bro. Those Range Rovers are expensive, especially the modern ones. So anyway, look, there's a whole bunch of questions, and fucking you could whatever you want, dream about the fucking where she got the money. But my point is not that at all. My point is more to the fact that all of that can't be fucking that vehicle was only a year or two old. That wasn't an old Range Rover, Clifton. If someone needs to go look at the year she bought, because it takes many years to go by before a Range Rover is worth under 20 grand. For whatever reason, those are very popular high-end SUVs that I think are a bunch of fucking junk, personally. Fucking British cars always have electrical problems. So in 2022, she bought a 6-year-old vehicle. That car, you're right, it could be 20. Could be 20 or more. So she bought a 2016 and she was killed in 2022. So it was a 6-year-old vehicle. Yeah, but I'm telling you, that was at the height of the car theft. That was at the height of the market of them sticking it up your ass to go buy a vehicle. Pickup trucks were north of $60,000. And so, yeah. Okay, so she bought it. Okay, then that's completely explainable. I'll accept all that. You guys are saying that about it. So great. It wasn't that big of a deal. Although her and her family has made a big deal of it, which is fine. But more importantly, based on what I heard them say about Dylan's story, Dylan's story is not the story in the PCA as written in the PCA. Right? When people say cops, you know, he was clad in black. That's something a young girl wouldn't say. You guys were right. Okay? And that's where the fucking story goes off the rails. Where is the effort to find out whose blood was in that glove? Where's the effort to determine how long that blood was on that railing? But let me just say what is very evident here, folks, is that one shoe print that they used to try to impugn. She brought that up. One shoe print by Dylan's door and nowhere else. That suggests to me that crime scene was cleaned. We don't know that it was, but imagine also the doors all being open on those bedrooms when the cops arrived. Were they open all night? And if they were the 8 hours of decay? Was that obvious when you walked into the house? Was it something that people could smell? Right? Yeah, her frozen shock face lasted just long enough for her to close and lock the door. Right? That's what I'm saying. This is the problem that we have in America, is that the minutia of the truth is never easy to find, folks, for some reason. And we're all too willing to go with what's fucking easy or convenient or seems to make sense, which none of that equals the truth. The truth is always found in the details. And the problem for Koberger, and the problem for every American that faces any kind of disagreement or any kind of criminal action against them, is the public opinion is formed by the government that's making the accusation against you. And you have no chance in the court of public opinion. You understand? And this is what's happened here. This happens all over the country. I think a lot of you jerk-offs that think he's guilty, you also voted for Kamala Harris. That racist, lying, filthy fuck of a cunt. That's who you people voted for. That's why a lot of you people don't want to talk about politics. You don't want us to know. See, the difference between people that are fucking middle of the road and willing to vote for someone like Trump that's trying to fucking save the republic is that we're more forgiving and more welcoming. And you want to hide amongst us, you filthy fucks. Go hide with the fucking Kamala people. You want to cut your dick off and tattoo it to your fucking forehead? You go right ahead. But get the fuck out of here. I don't want you in here if you voted for Kamala. And people say, oh, you shouldn't. Go, don't tell me how to live my life. I don't give a fuck what color you are, what race you are, what religious you are, whatever. But your philosophy about my fucking home country, your view of the world being impugned and fucking stuck in our schools, I don't mind being a pervert either. I'm all about people being perverted in their bedrooms. Go right the fuck ahead. Enjoy yourself. Stand on your fucking head. Suck your own toes. I don't care what you do. But don't fucking impose your fucking way of having fun on children in school that are not even fucking of the age to hear it. You kind of people need to get the fuck out of here. I'd rather keep the illegal immigrants than I would a lot of these Democrats. Get the fuck out of my country. This investigation was a nightmare, Grant. It was a nightmare beyond nightmares. These people lied and misrepresented data that's real. It's true Brian Koberger went to Moscow 12 times. What isn't true is that those 12 times were completely nothing to do. Those 12 times were stalking those kids. Completely untrue. Those 12 times were planning that crime. Completely untrue. Yeah, I have found that there is kind of a link between the Kamala supporters and the people that go with being a guilter. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah. That's Sarge's analysis. And here, the other thing is, they're the ones that were that side of the aisle when Trump doesn't even know that a transaction was made, that when the federal government clears it, that when there is no crime that was committed, that I could pay anybody in this room an undisclosed amount of money to keep you quiet about something personal in nature to me. I have the God-given fucking freedom to protect my reputation, as long as what I'm asking you to be shut the fuck up about isn't criminal. And you sucking my dick ain't criminal. Okay? Me fucking you isn't criminal. Right? Therefore, we can sign non-disclosure agreements between us, and you can keep your mouth shut about that. And there's no crime there. And that's what New York State ran with. And, these people that are arguing he's guilty, they're just arguing what the investigators in the Koberger case is. Fuck you and your Constitution. Fuck you and your freedom. Fuck you and your God-given right. fuck you on all of that. That's what these people are saying. Because they think it should be run based on what they determine is right and wrong. And some of these people don't understand that what's in that Constitution isn't to be interpreted. It's written in fucking plain English. That's what it is, what it is. No, Ty, we have no idea what they know about the unknown DNA or the unknown identities of the DNA. And Twizzle, you're right. There was absolutely no investigation at all. They used phone records to try to locate this guy in a town with 2 cell towers per Ann Taylor. And when the fucking prosecution tried to suggest there was 3, the judge shut her the fuck up. How you like them apples, folks? There's 2 cell towers, and there's probably something else in that town that gives that town a little bit more coverage or a little bit of handling between the 2 towers. So there may be, and you know who would know is Cletus, but Cletus is sick. No, he's not sick. Now Clue is sick. Right. They know that they are unknown male DNA samples. And it's a joke to suggest to me that the blood on the railing, you don't know if it was old or new blood. Well, you don't know if Brian Kohlberger's DNA is old or new unless you read the lying, fucking stinking bullshit fake PCA. You read that, accept that information, and the DNA must have showed up that night. Because that fucking story tells you he showed up that night, but that fucking story is one big fucking lie. That's Ann's argument. That's as simple as you can put it. There is no image of Brian Kohlberger. There is no image of a vehicle that identifies Brian Kohlberger. The images that do exist put the car away from the crime and going the wrong way on the wrong road. When Brian Kohlberger's vehicle left that fucking apartment, he drove south towards that fucking Wawa Park. Okay? That's what the information shows. He did not drive across to Moscow. The other white sedan did. And the proof of that is going to be in the tracking of Brian's phone when it got turned off. Because it got turned off south of his fucking apartment complex. Watch. And whether it was turned off or not, it's probably a fucking dead spot. Right? I want to know what evidence is sealed and why. The evidence that's sealed and why is all IGG. That's it. End of story. Stop. Beckless. It's the FBI's work. And Ann is right. When you take a sample from the police, Bill Thompson authorizes it to be looked at by Othram for genealogy, and Othram then amplifies or alters the evidence that you gave them, and then takes the altered evidence and works to a conclusion. This is why genealogy isn't allowed in criminal cases like that. This is why that particular fucking science should get more scrutiny than anything else. Yeah, however it worked out, Twizzle, he went south when he left that, according to Ann and the images that they've supplied and their video. That's why she was talking about the 7 lost minutes. One car leaves at 2:42. Brian Kohlberger's car is seen leaving at 2:44. 2 separate cars. So there's 2 minutes of time. That 2 minutes makes all the difference in the world. No, they don't have the unidentified male DNA sealed, Joanne. They've told us that they have nothing on the all other than it's just unknown male. Ann's asked for the evidence. She's asked for the test results. She's asked for, and they said, we can't give you what we don't give you. The lab didn't give it to us. They don't have it, and we don't have it. So it doesn't matter. See, this is what I'm trying to say. Nothing half-assed. No, they can't tell if it was a low battery versus turned off manually versus they just can't. And that's not even important here. When you match up Brian Kohlberger's phone to that night, Ann just told us that his phone went south from his apartment, the step-toe apartment. Yeah, they don't log when you turn your phone on and off. But that was a guess. It's been my experience that criminals will often turn off their phone to mask their location. There's no evidence that he did turn off his phone. There's none. That's an assessment against a vehicle that went south, away from fucking Moscow. He left Pullman and went south. That's another revealing boom that came from Ann. But I think her biggest hurdle is HIPPLER's not understanding that all that investigation and all these accusations against Brian Kohlberger are lies. I mean, let's just accept the DNA is his. You have to now place him at that scene of the crime. And when you have one piece of transfer DNA, no matter where it's found, that's suspicious. But that can't prove murder. And some of you motherfuckers out here are just too ignorant to understand that unless you can place Kohlberger at that house at those times, then that transfer DNA is as fucking valuable as having no money in your pocket. Okay? You got 1 penny in your pocket. You need to make the whole dollar before you go to court. And what these motherfuckers did was they took their penny and they stacked 99 lies on top of it. And HIPPLER isn't for some reason understanding how just simple that is. Right? It's so simple what they did here. That PCA tells you what they did. That PCA is completely unverifiable. Nothing can identify Kohlberger anywhere as being in that home. You have to use the basic lies in the fucking argument in the PCA to make the fucking DNA become a relevant piece of evidence to allege this man did it. And this is what Ann is saying. When you take all of that away, all you're left with is transfer DNA, no matter where it was found. Now let's examine if it's really his. And the question becomes, how did it double at the lab? How did whatever sample they sent become twice as large before it went to the FBI? Let's ignore that they went into these databases they weren't supposed to go in. They violated your right. They violated my right. You want to know who has standing? Do you want to know who has standing to sue these people? Are people in that database have the right to sue the government for violating their right to privacy? That they entered into a fucking agreement with a website, and that website addressed the law enforcement's fucking terms. And their terms were come to us with a warrant. You cannot do warrantless database searches, you see? And so on that, that's point A. Point B is, like she says, how can you trust them when they lied about everything? I want to know the actual name of the person that found the DNA at that lab. I want to know the actual cop that found it. I want to know the actual person that sampled it off the knife sheet. I want to know the custody knife sheet. No, his father's DNA comes in later after all of that genealogy work was done. But all of the genealogy work is suspicious. Could law enforcement and the two judges be deemed as biased, negligent, and perhaps hostile because they've ignored the two identified males? Well, that's one way to look at that, sure. I don't trust juries either because they're full of all you stupid motherfuckers, all 5.63 billion of you fucking jerk-offs out here on the internet and social media. I don't trust anything anybody does anymore. Because in interacting with so many people, like I joined a couple of Facebook groups just for the balls of it. And I can't believe this. Kohlberger was definitely stalking these people. I don't care what they said in court. Why, you ignorant motherfucker? You ignorant fucking brain damaged, unable to fucking think, stupid dumbass. It's been eliminated. There is no basis. There is no evidence. It's clear that those 12 trips had nothing to do with this crime. It's fucking incredible how people put things together. And then because they think they're smarter than everybody else. Look, I think that, but I'm sorry. I generally show it. I admit when I'm wrong, right? I show when I'm right. Obviously, right? Yeah, but all of those arguments, musical Contessa, are just... She needs to get all of the PCA deleted. She needs to get that whole story shut down because it's a lie. Therefore, there is no probable cause. There's only transfer DNA. However, here's what makes the transfer DNA I'll make it real simple for you low IQ fucks out there. You have transfer DNA, and as of we know right now, you have blood samples, 2 blood samples of unknown male DNA. Okay? That trumps the fucking transfer DNA. Okay? That your investigations, you should never have tore the house down. You should have been in there with fucking Sherlock Holmes fucking magnifying glasses. You should have been doing every fucking thing you could do. Everything you could fucking do. Look at clearly the person's hand. Is the glove outside a right-handed glove? Does the glove outside have any puncture wounds, any slice wounds? Is the glove outside in any way otherwise damaged? Because handrails are on the right-hand side of your stairway as you're going down the stairs. Handrails are to help you get downstairs, not go up them. And they're generally on the right-hand side of the person coming down because 99.9% of us are right-handed. Therefore, is the glove outside right-handed? Does the glove outside, where is the blood stain? In the right hand, right? If that's the right-handed glove, and where, so here's what I'm saying. Then you would know you had a right-handed fucking perpetrator. Whose blood is it? Is it one of the victim's blood, or is it? They said unidentified male. So I guess here's the thing: we only know that it exists, and that's exculpatory evidence for the fucking defense. Which is more important to people? Skin cells that have to be magnified and altered and some fucking backdoor process used under which the cops lie? Is that more valuable than direct blood? Those questions aren't going to get asked. Listen, I find it a bit fucking crazy that now looking back that they ripped the house down. My thinking now is the authorities have done shady stuff for so long they think they are right. That's what I'm trying to say. Look, police as people, I don't have any objection to them at all. And here's where my objection comes in. Is when you're trained to do things or you're in the presence of people that are training you doing things that are not within the law. Okay? And you adopt those fucking policies. And then like that fucking Detective John, the guy that let that grandmother clock fucking land on his grandmother. You don't hold each other to account. And therefore you train a very, very ill-equipped, and it's just like the lawyers that went after Trump. That Fanny fucking whatever her name is and the others, that Jack Smith, the fucking jerk off in New York. These people are trained to be fucking criminal. They're trained to try to lie and manipulate the law. The biggest donor to the Democratic Party is George Soros, and George Soros stopped donating to major politics and started donating to all the small races. He's the one running around the country getting these DAs elected. And these DAs are just puppets. They're useless. They're no fucking good. They're dangerous. Right? That's what makes cops so fucking untrustworthy. I mean, first and foremost, if you're speeding as a cop, if you ever listen to my stream and you're speeding, you're a criminal, you need to drop your fucking badge off tomorrow morning. I don't give a fuck what the law is. For you to enforce it, you must follow it. You must follow it to a fucking T. And if in fact you don't, you need to turn yourself in. You need to face the fucking music. Right? There should be a citizen fucking place that monitors the speeds of the fucking police cars in the community. How would you like that? We all should push for that. And any cop caught fucking speeding based on the monitoring of their vehicle during their daily travels needs to explain and justify that under the law or get a fucking ticket. Okay? And 2 tickets and you're off road patrol. You're now relegated to the fucking office. You got to follow the fucking law. The law needs to be enforced against the people that are fucking enforcing it. And they need to self-report. They need to not surround them. What do they bring in the wagons? So cover them with the wagons. Surround them. Fuck that. Okay? You do the right fucking thing. And you do the right thing to the best of your ability as often as you can. And life becomes a great thing to live. And every police officer is probably deep down a very good, decent, honest, hardworking fucking person. caught up in a broken fucking system that they then become the perpetuators of, not because they're criminal, low down, dirty motherfuckers, but that's because that's what the job has actually turned out to be. Now what? Right? Our whole system has been corrupted. And I'm telling you, the corruptors are the people running around arguing innocent or guilt. Right? I'm not even going to tell you that what Ann showed us yesterday proves this kid didn't do it. I'm not going to say that ever. There's so many other ways he could have accessed that property. And I'm not saying that because there's transfer DNA on the knife sheath. Anybody could have fucking done that crime. Okay? Yeah, well, you shouldn't drive under the influence, and it's not unlucky to get pulled over. It's good. I'd rather you get pulled over and ticketed than you run some fucking old lady over. Unless it was my ex, then that's fine. I'd come bail your ass out. Give me your number. I'm just kidding. No. I'm missing Cletus. Fucking Cletus. He's sick. She's sick. The dog's sick. The chicken's sick. What the fuck? Everything is sick. I don't know what's going on with you Southern folks. You catch fucking, the wind blows and you catch something. These folks have been sick half a dozen times since I've known them. I'm never sick. Well, in the head, maybe. I am sick in the head. Well, I could probably get my record expunged, but, I mean, that it's on your record doesn't hurt you either, really. Be responsible. It should remain on there for a while, I guess. But even if it's on there for life, as long as you do the right thing and don't repeat that crime, you're fine. But back to the Idaho 4. The argument now has gotten to be stupid because Judge HIPPLER seems to be as ignorant could be. He's trying he sees this as Ann arguing that the DNA on the sheath is not admissible evidence and that the cops did something wrong with it. And as much as checking, and in other words, he thinks that what she's saying is the cops had no right to try to identify that DNA in the knife sheath. He said that in court. And I'm thinking, that's not what she's saying, you ignorant fuck. That's absolutely opposite of what she's saying. Of course they have. That's like saying they found a gun at the crime scene. You can't check it for fingerprints. Because I own it and I didn't give you permission. That's bullshit. Okay? The sheet should not be admissible. It's not an exact match to Brian. I don't know that we know that for sure. Musical Contessa. I don't know. I don't know that it's not an exact match to Brian Kohlberger. I don't know. What she is saying, though, is that, and I'll lay it out for you, folks. What should have happened here was they should have tried to identify every source of DNA. And once they identified the transfer DNA, right, on the sheath, they shouldn't have then, they should have then looked to see if Brian Kohlberger was at that scene of the crime. I want you to just look at what I'm telling you is as plain as the nose on your face. If the transfer DNA itself was enough to charge him with a quadruple homicide, there would be no story in the PCA. You wouldn't need it. This is Ann's point. You don't know that they use fake DNA, and I'd rather people not come in here and say that. Okay? Okay? I mean, we don't know. I understand all of that, Musical Contessa, but we can't conclude what they have until they actually give it. And for you guys to say that the DNA is real or it's not Brian's, unless evidence comes out to support that, there's no sense in even discussing it. You have no evidentiary basis to say that. You can think that, whatever you want to do, but it's not worth discussing. Okay? I'm not saying that that's inaccurate. I think that she's right. It's an ambiguous, in a particular ambiguous sample. That's fine. They're saying their point is that this is what it shows. And what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that's the least important thing here. showing that that DNA is in that house on that knife, a knife sheath that you don't even know had anything to do with the crime. All that shows is, okay, Brian Kohlberger. But when you charge somebody in the court of law, their fingerprint or their blood or their fingerprint or their, we'll use fingerprints in this transfer DNA. If there was a fingerprint found on a door in the house that traced to Brian Kohlberger, that just says Brian Kohlberger may have been, was definitely in the house. The problem with the transfer DNA on the knife sheath in the button snap is that does not say Brian Kohlberger was there. That knife sheath, as Ann pointed out, had to be brought into the house. That's an outside item. You don't know where it's been or who's been in contact with it. You can't trace that. So the fact that there's a sample that you magnified and created a profile that says that's Brian Kohlberger's is not enough to charge him with capital murder. It's not enough to make the argument that proves he committed the crime. And it's not enough to prove that at the times you claim the crime was committed, that he was actually in that house. That's the problem with single source evidentiary items, right? As an example, if you find a firearm at a crime scene where the person was shot dead, and you find my fingerprint on the gun, okay? We'll say the barrel of the gun has my fingerprint. There's no ambiguity to who it is, folks. But you find out that the time of the shooting was between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. And during them 4 hours, I have a rock solid alibi. Therefore, I cannot be your suspect and you need to move on. That's how it's supposed to work. You could keep chipping away at my alibi. You can keep investigating me. But a fingerprint on a gun barrel in a crime scene isn't proof that I did it. I don't know why these fucking guilters have such a hard time overcoming the common sense of what I'm pointing out. It does not indicate anything more than you've been in touch or in contact with that gun. That gun could even belong to me, right? As an example, and you come to me and you say, excuse me, sir, we're investigating a crime. We believe we have your gun in possession with your fingerprint on it. Do you own such and such a gun? Yeah, I do. And can you describe the gun? Well, it's a .357 Magnum with a 6-inch barrel, and it's all chromed with a wooden handle, and it has the engraving on it with love. Melissa, my wife, gave it to me, and it's at home. Come on, we'll go. I'll show you. And I take the police and I invite them into my home, and I go into my fucking closet and I pull down the fucking the locked case of the gun, and I open it up. There's no gun in there. Wow. Something's fucked up. The gun's gone. I'm still not the guy you're going to charge for killing them people. And you know why? Because all of those fucking events, no matter how incriminating they may look, still can't place me at the scene of the crime. And now when you investigate me and you realize that my cell phone places me south of the crime during the time of the crime, or during the time of the crime, you can't locate me anywhere. That one piece of transfer DNA, that one fingerprint is not enough to charge murder. You have to not just show a connection to the crime, folks. This isn't what guilt or innocence is based on, a connection. Guilt or innocence is based on actual evidence that you did it. Fucking hell, Kane's here. The Purge. Cy Ray is in Twiz's basement. He might be. He might be. I can't say. You can't. They have to answer that question, and they need to answer that question in an open court of law. Because when she gets these people on the stand, she's going to say, "Is it your expertise is in crime investigation?" She's going to bring in her own experts, and I'm going to tell you what her experts will say. They're going to say that a single source of male DNA at a crime scene is the best suspect in the world. Connecting that particular source of DNA to that particular time and to that particular event is the job of an investigator to do. That's what we're here for. Like I had told you, folks, my fingerprint was found on door hinges. That apartment on the other side of those hinges had been robbed of firearms. Okay? And that case was dismissed. The prosecutor wouldn't even bring it to a fucking grand jury. Oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking, I'm wrong. He did bring it to a grand jury. But unlike the prosecutor in fucking Brian's case, they also told the grand jury that I was the maintenance man in that hallway and I had painted all the doors and all the trim, including those hinges and the ceilings and the windows, that I was the maintenance man painting that entire area. And that was why I wasn't indicted, because it was a likely explanation as to why in other words, it wasn't so suspicious now. Why is this guy's fingerprint on the door hinge of a fucking apartment that's been broken into? Right? Can we place him at the scene? In this case, they were able to actually place me at the scene of the crime. But the activities being performed by me at that scene were what would be an argument in court that I didn't rob this fucking guy. I don't know where my fingerprints ended up. I'm the painter. I mean, it is what it is. That argument was reasonable doubt. And so with such reasonable doubt, there was no indictment of me. In the Koberger case, they didn't do it that way. And this is what Ann is also trying to point out. She's trying to say, Your Honor, the magistrate needs both sides of the story to sign a warrant. So if Brian's Koberger can't be identified, his car can't be identified in any of the footage you have, how could you label it suspect vehicle 1? You're attributing, you're assigning that car to him. It's in his possession and it's his car. You're making that conclusion. And you're arguing that you're making it through video footage. But there is no video footage that makes that conclusion. Do you understand, folks? Just like when I was in the hallway and you found my fucking fingerprint. Right? That's only one fucking part of trying to understand what you're looking at. And in the Koberger case, the only part that they have that shows anything at all is the transfer DNA. And like, that argument, they need to hash that out. But just that in and of itself, yeah, 4 big detectives come knocking on your door, Grant. I'd have arrested you just to fuck with you. I'd have put you in the car and brought you downtown and then had you make your own way home. Only Ridge Road shows an 11 to 13 Elantra. So the 11 to 13 Elantra wasn't around the crime scene. They can't even identify the vehicles that were around that crime scene. Fair enough to us? But they made that connection. And they tied all of this information together in a way to provide a reasonable understanding to a court to sign a fucking warrant. This is her argument. This is why they avoided a probable cause hearing. There's no picture, no video of him or his vehicle. You're right. Around that house or near that house, getting out of the car, going into the car. There is nothing to connect Brian Koberger. All the things that they're saying connects him are a lie. They do the exact opposite. They place him everywhere but at that house. And that's when the investigation into Brian Koberger should have went on the back burner. And they should have then really started to look more closely at the crime scene. More closely at the samples or evidence they had. They probably have things in their possession they don't even know are evidence. That's to me how fucking stupid these people are. That's right. I've been saying that for a long time. There's no reason to believe even a car is involved, Twiz. I agree. We don't know that there's a car involved. We have no way to substantiate that other than us telling us in that fucking stupid fucking story. Jeff with the fucking U-turns. There's absolutely nothing to substantiate that any car at all was around that home that had something to do with that crime. All right? Well, I think I don't even look at it from that point of view, Linda. I look at it to see if what they're telling us happened is possible. And now that we know every allegation that they made in the PCA is completely impossible, you have to ask that judge needs to be slapped in the fucking forehead. Someone needs to leave it. Where's his mother? I want to talk to HIPPLER's mother. Where's your mother, motherfucker? Let me have a little. I won't even swear. I'll be the most fucking congenial motherfucker you'll ever meet in your life. I want to have a talk with your mother. Clearly, she didn't hit you in the back of the head fucking hard enough. Show the camera a handprint in the back of your head, or you weren't raised right, you stupid motherfucker. What is wrong with that guy? No, I realize that transfer DNA has a lot of issues, musical. But here's the thing: is before, and here's what Ann is arguing. You had no probable cause in your fucking statements to go fucking swat this guy. You had no probable cause to fucking parachute in from fucking space with fucking snipers and cameras in his yard and fucking big giant fucking army fucking trucks or whatever. It's on an F-250 frame, which is a pretty fucking beefy frame. And that truck, it's bigger than a dog catcher's truck. I'll tell you that right now. It's a command center. And Touch DNA is, but so you do all of this crazy fucking shit. You could have killed this guy and his family. Luckily, you didn't. And then you try to build a case around the guy. It's the most improbable fucking thing. Enon's seen a vehicle that left after 4. Fuck Enon. He's again, I don't want to impugn anybody, but people in close proximity to that crime are all suspects to me. You take out that story in the PCA where, this is the best written PCA I've ever seen. This is the biggest PCA. It concludes the most inclusive PCA. It's the most informative piece. And it was all a lie. Where's that Jennifer fucking cum dumpster? That filthy fucking FBI agent that sucked more cock at SAG. Look at her face. You could tell she didn't take enough facial. She swallowed. That bitch is a swallower, which is fine if she swallows. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying. That filthy cum dump. That's why I call her cum dumpster. She's a swallower. Look what it did to her fucking face. It's falling off her fucking face. It's falling off her skull. It's all sagging down. That filthy fucking FBI piece of fucking shit, that puke, garbage, trash fucking hooker. Fuck you, Jennifer Coffendorfer. You filthy piece of shit. Trying to tell the public how fucking amazing that PCA is. Really? How amazing is it now? The kid left Steptoe Apartments and went south. The car that went towards the fucking the crime scene isn't him. Now what, bitch? Same with all you fucking idiots out there. You think none of this matters, and it's all that matters. When you're trying to fucking throw someone in jail or shoot him dead. You need to find the fucking people that committed the crime against those 4 fucking kids that were murdered, not because Sarge says so, but that's because society demands the fucking correct fucking people involved. You got 4 male DNAs at that crime scene, 3 of them unknown. Okay? Oh, that must mean that fucking Brian was there. Well, okay. Okay. Now what? Where are the other 3? I mean, if you're going to be that fucking stupid and you're not going to argue and scream and fucking yell and stomp your feet, that blood on a handrail leading down the stairs and blood on a glove out just outside the back door don't matter, then you are, my God, you don't even belong in the class of 5.63 billion morons. You literally don't belong in fucking public. You should interact with no other living fucking human being. Ever. Ever. You stupid, ignorant, empty-headed motherfuckers should sit outside and watch paint dry. And what you learn from that is clearly more than what you've learned living life. It's fucking crazy. Dead fucking skin cells that we leave by 500 million of them a fucking second. Or 500,000 of them a second. Your house, 70-80% of your house is covered in dead skin cells. You walk through my fucking house and go outside and you're dragging my skin cells with you. You silly, ignorant, fucking brain-dead motherfuckers. Then you got 2 other samples that now have been identified as blood. Where are you, Jennifer Coffendorfer? Where are you, you fucking news media pieces of shit? Where are you, drunk fucking turkey? You being drunk would be a step up for you, you fucking fat, twitted fucking idiot. Unbelievable. You people painting fucking pictures based on fucking reflections. You idiots too, that crowd. You dumb motherfuckers. The case before you is all that matters, not your fucking fantasy world of who did it. That fucking Pavarotti. You know, there's a couple of guys that to the point. I do kind of like that guy to the point. He's got a very nice mellow southern demeanor, completely the opposite of me. Him and I would probably make a good team. His DNA wasn't, because that is an accurate statement. And he kept saying that because Anne didn't make it simple stupid for the judge. Anne created an uphill battle for herself. I don't know what Anne did here, but what she did caused the judge to focus on that. And what she should have said is, Your Honor, okay, there's one single source of DNA that belongs to my client. And the judge, and I agree with that, Your Honor. Let me just, for the sake of argument, I agree with that. And the judge would say, okay. And then you say, what tells us that DNA showed up on the night of the crime? Just like the blood on the railing. You just said it, Your Honor. There could be an explanation for why that blood is there that has nothing to do with the crime. I accept that. But you can't just look at the blood that way and not his DNA. So let's go back to his DNA, Your Honor. What place is Brian Kohlberger at the scene of the crime? I'd say, do you see that light bulb that just went off in your head, you fucking twit? That's the point. Every allegation they made placing him at the scene of the crime is a lie. Every one of them. And they knew it. That's why I want a Franks hearing. I'm not going to argue whether my client's DNA is in that house or not. That's a completely second argument. That argument, we shouldn't even be able to get to that argument once you realize that that's the only thing that they can suggest shows Brian Kohlberger's name for anything to do with that house. That piece of evidence does not say Brian Kohlberger was there, does not say what time he was there, does not say he wielded a knife, does not say that he committed the crime of murder. That by itself just says what it says. End of story. Now, you see, she needed to make it simple, stupid for him. Don't deny the DNA presence. That is not an argument that you need to be in at this point, Ann. Your argument is clear. Everything else is a lie. She did say that. The sheet, no, she insisted the sheet did come from somewhere else. Listen, she's saying that sheet was brought into that house, and that's okay. But there's a lot to unpack there. What does that mean? What does that mean that the sheet had to have come that night? Does that mean that sheet came into that house by Brian? The fact that you found transfer DNA on that sheet doesn't show any places the sheet has been, right? There's no evidence that sheet has ever come into that house or left that house or any of that. You don't know. She got exasperated, kind of like I do sometimes. She's a very smart woman. But again, and I don't say this just to say this, but everything that she's arguing, every point that she's making are the points I've been making for 2 years. I was making it before I ever had the evidence to actually support it, but I was still making the point that PCA is a piece of shit. It's not reliable. It makes no sense. It isn't evidence of anything except Brian wasn't at that house. I've been saying that for 2 years. Pardon me. Yeah, I get exasperated because there's so many folks out here that refuse to understand how to think. Right? I've been in jail for almost 2.5 years for nothing on a single source of transfer DNA. Yes, found in a very fucked up thing, but let me just understand something. How do we know that contained the weapon that committed the crime? You don't. You just don't. How do we know that it didn't belong to one of the roommates? Which, just so you folks know, and this bothers me for a lot. Sometimes you do have to make, you tried, like I tried to put together that Steven Gonzalez was said that there was blood on a sleeve and on a pant leg. And I said that makes sense. That's where 2 of the other 3 male DNAs were found. And now I find out that analysis is completely wrong. There was blood on a railing and blood on a fucking glove. I didn't know if these samples were blood or not, but now I'm completely confirmed that there can't be any DNA found on a sleeve and a pant leg. Maybe one or the other, but not both, because we're still missing one piece of DNA. There were 3 unidentified male source DNA and 1 belonging to Brian. But again, when you get back to the knife sheath, you now need to connect that knife to the crime. And the fact that it was under her comforter and under her body suggests to me that it was placed there by one of the victims. Go sit in your bed. Go sit in your bed. Okay? If you're right-handed and you know, or it doesn't matter, just go sit in your bed. What do you do with the remote control? How often do you lose the remote control of your fucking TV if you got a TV in your bedroom? How often do you place, if you're in your bed and you do anything other than sleep and have sex? And even when you have sex, where'd you put the fucking oil? Huh? How many times do you fucking slip that oil somewhere where you know it's going to be and it ain't going to spill and make a mess? Right? Or, yeah, under the comforter and under the hip or under the thigh of a roommate places that knife sheath almost out of the crime scene. Right? We always lose that damn. You're right. And so you slide it sometimes under your leg. No, they never really talked about that. Can you imagine these parents? Listen, if Brian Koberger did it, all I'm saying, and all anybody should be even suggesting is, okay, you have transfer DNA. That's very, very fucking indicative of his connection to that knife sheath. That knife sheath, we're being told, contained a knife that was used on these victims. We don't have the autopsies. We don't know if that's true. I don't know that you can prove one knife over another, right? Without having that knife. I mean, someone was in my chat room and saying those are very strong blades. Those blades, they're a very, very fucking sharp. In order to maintain a sharp edge, folks, the forging on that knife is very, very good. The hardness of that blade is very, very good. The best piece of metal to maintain a sharp edge, just so you know, is stainless steel. Regular steel that's forged, like you see on that Forged in Fire show. Those edges, folks, and those blades, you've seen some of them break. And that's why they wear safety glasses. They're totally afraid that blade's going to shatter. That's why you see knives where when they're not forged hard enough, the edge will roll. The edge will get a dent. That tells you your blade isn't hard enough. A hardened blade, especially a big, heavy blade like that gives you a big enough handle to hold, to put all of your all into it, that blade has a consistent issue with the tip chipping. So my point is that every knife that's wielded, every knife that's used, that blade, like a bullet, will have characteristic things about it. That's why having the weapon matters. Right? Yeah, I've seen those blades snap in half. So you don't have a way. Now you need to show, and it's not going to be that hard for most of these brain damaged fucks out here, if you put them on a jury, for them to agree it was a fucking K-bar. But the truth of the matter is, you don't know it was a K-bar. You're taking a knife sheath that you found under one of the victims. That knife sheath could have been there hours before the crime, and it was obviously there hours after the crime. It could have belonged to one of the roommates. It could have never had a blade. It could have nothing to do with nothing. There's no blood on it. There's nothing that would indicate it was part of a struggle. I mean, I would destroy that on cross-examination from any of the fucking experts you put forward. I would actually have a fucking, I would actually have somebody come in with 2 different fucking blades, a kitchen fucking knife and a fucking K-bar knife and a fucking several different blades, and stab it into a fucking, what do they call that gel that they use? They use it for bullets and knives. And let the jury see for themselves. The same blade can make 2 different wounds. So it's not always easy. 2 different blades can make similar or the same wound. There just is no way to determine exactly what knife was used in this murder. You're told to make the leap that that knife sheath that was found on that mattress covered by a fucking bedspread and a comforter and covered by the victim. Okay, it seems sensible to make that the fucking weapon, murder weapon. But when you really look at it, you now have to start asking questions. Its location is very, very suspicious in that it doesn't really place it in any of the action. How did they get the knife blade underneath them in a battle of fucking knives, in a battle with that knife? How did the person that owned the sheath, how did they enter the property? Did they enter the property with the knife in the sheath in one hand? Did they then take the knife out of the sheath and set the fucking case down? How did that case get under the victim and then end up on the floor or on top of the comforter, which is where it would most likely end up? How is it that it got under the victim? These questions matter. And because these questions can't be answered, but they're sensible questions, the knife sheath starts to take on a less and less role in the importance of what you're looking at. The investigators themselves should do things like this. For all the fuck we know, that knife was in the fucking kitchen sink, cleaned. It was back in the knife drawer. We don't know. For all the fuck we know, the murder weapon was still in that house. Knives are used more often by women than they are men. Now we know Dylan's height is 5'8". For her to say 5'10" to 6 feet tells me that there's no way that could be Brian Koberger. Now that we know for a fact she's 5'8" tall. She couldn't have observed somebody walking across that common area and came to that conclusion. She did not watch him walk out that fucking back door. They're making the assessment that that's what he did. For all she knows, he went back upstairs. She don't know. So your witness is useless. Knives are good weapons as long as you're using them with the element of surprise. A knife is a very, very stealthy weapon that used properly can be a very, very wicked fucking way to kill people. Right, those hardened blades, those swords, that's why you can't really bend a sword. That's why when you get some ancient Chinese sword, people want you to be so careful with it. They don't want you to drop it. Hardened metal, folks, becomes at a certain point, and during the forging process, and the quench, it's when you quench, when you heat metal, when you beat metal and you, okay. Picture metal as a pile of sand. And then picture using a heavy hammer or a hydraulic press to crush that sand together so tightly that it becomes strong and uniform. And that's kind of what you're doing. They're taking pieces of metal and they're beating on them and they're folding them over and they're beating on them. So they get the molecules, which is an extreme way to point out, tighter and tighter and closer together. The more you can compact that metal and then quench it to freeze it into place, right? So if you take a knife, and not your kitchen knife, but you go take a knife that's been truly forged or a sword and break it, even if you take a forged connecting rod from an engine and break it, you'll see what I mean. There should be no grainy view inside of that. There shouldn't look like a million dots, a million pieces of metal that have been beat together. It should look all consistently the same. Damascus is another one. Yeah, I agree. That's a good guess. There were more than one perpetrator. And if she heard people running up and down the stairs, and Bethany saw a man outside that was naked, right? And they found the glove in the backyard, and they found fucking blood on a railing, and those weren't the most important investigative tools or tips that they had. And they want to act like the tip from the FBI, manipulating fucking chemicals and doing all the fucking jerk off shit they do with DNA. They want to protect that. Well, they've also protected and hid from the public. I haven't seen it, Joanne. Do you got it, or can you call in and tell us what it's about? I'll be completely quiet and let you explain it. And if I do anything, it'll be to ask you a question, you know. But why don't you tell us what it is, Joanne? I appreciate you bringing it up. There were lots of people there that morning, and all the bedroom doors were open. Remember I was talking about the crime scene? If all these doors were locked, why is there no argument or no? I mean, where's the forced entry? I'm on my break or I would. What? I'm on my break or I would. Well, that's when you should be calling. You should be calling in during working time, but you do you, okay? Well, I don't even know that knife should be. It's like the car. We're all the way back to the car, right? Nothing half-assed. We're all the way back to the car again, where they argued the whole time that Brian Koberger's car this, Brian Koberger's, and none of that's true. None of it. It's a lie. Now we're being told that the knife sheath and the DNA matter. And Ann said, right, how could they lied so much? How can you trust anything they're telling us? And that's really the analysis the court needs to lay against their rulings. I don't suspect Judge HIPPLER is going to side with her. I think Judge HIPPLER went off the fucking rails and Ann couldn't get him back on the track. When he's arguing, how could DNA found at a crime scene not be subjected to search? How could that be protected because of a Fourth Amendment? Somehow I don't know if he got that argument because I think he got it from the prosecution. The prosecution is trying to frame the DNA argument as something it's not. She isn't claiming that it was protected. Not even close. You found it at the crime scene. You can do with it what you will. But all of the circumstantial evidence that tells you that DNA was at the crime scene because the person that had that DNA was at the crime scene. And that knife was located, that sheath was located in the crime scene. And these people are really dead. Therefore, when you take the totality of our story, we charge Brian Koberger with 4 homicides and burglary. What she's saying is you can't do that with just the plain old DNA all by itself. And Judge HIPPLER is not understanding that. Right? And just because you found DNA at a knife, on a knife sheath, right? And just because you identified who it is, she's also right that once the DNA was given to the Idaho State Police, and then it was sent to Othram Lab, a warrant needed to be issued for that. And once Othram Lab sent it to the FBI, another warrant should have been issued for that. When the DNA was sent to the lab, and it was then amplified, there should have been warrants and paperwork to track that. That work should be checkable. The movement of that sample should be followed. You should be able to follow it. She had a lot of points that were completely accurate in her argument. But that Judge HIPPLER is a jerk off. As I ranted on that stupid, ignorant fucking dickhead. That she's not claiming the DNA found on the sheath can't be searched by the police. That's not what she's saying. That's what the fucking prosecution is framing it as. That's their narrative. If they didn't use the IgG, then Ann couldn't argue that to show the web of deceit. No, that DNA wasn't even used in the original application for the warrant. I think it was, and if it was hidden from us. I'm from the state of New York. Within 100 mile on the outskirts of that area code that I use. Yeah, you're right. All of that's, you're right on that one. Let me think here. Let me see here. I'll have to hide that. You're right. The feds told law enforcement they had nothing to indicate Brian Koberger. Why did law enforcement continue? This isn't the first murder where they framed somebody in that state. That's another point. And that point needs to be made to that judge. The lies start with, you're right. The lie starts with that tip for IgG. That's exactly where the lie starts. Even if the IgG is accurate, folks, I don't want to argue the validity of the DNA. Let's leave the DNA and accept it for what it is. Now place the DNA being deposited during the time of the crime. place the owner of that DNA at that crime scene during the times that you've written in stone, like they did the 10 Commandments. Like Ann said, the dog didn't start barking until 4:17 and didn't stop for 25 minutes. So explain to me now, and this I wish we'd have known before, because it would have shut all these jerk-offs up about the white car. This shows you that that white car, whatever cars they were fucking looking at, had nothing to do with that crime scene. How the fuck did Murphy go crazy from 4:17 forward, but you tell me the crime started at 4 a.m.? And then you show me a car that parks at 4:07. Well, okay, so at best the crime started at 4:07. If you're gonna claim the car was driving around, then the car should have started. The crime should have started at 2:42 a.m. You want to be accurate. If you're going to say Brian did it and you know his phone turned off, then the crime started between 2:42 a.m. and whatever after that. You know, you lied. You said it ended at 4:20, right? Right. It was once they got that name that they then went back into their records and they started diving in on Kohberger. And I think you're going to find, as Payne said in the beginning, that Brian Kohberger was identified in the initial sweeps of a car in November of 2022. I think he said November 29th. And Brian Kohberger was dismissed as a suspect. That's another point people aren't bringing up. Brett Payne told us that his name came up earlier. He didn't know it, but other people were in contact with his name in that car. And I'm telling you that because he didn't drive a 2011 to 13, that was probably the primary reason why they dismissed Brian Kohberger. And it was Brett Payne that decided that car would be an 11 to a 16. It wasn't the FBI that made that conclusion. That tall guy with bushy eyebrows, the serious, studious criminology PhD student from PA. Well, you know, maybe. You know, all these theories I really don't want to get into. I like to argue and point to the facts and things that we know are verifiable because we either A, we're watching the hearings, or B, we've read. I mean, Joanne says she's got some new releases. Can you give that to someone and someone could call in and go over them, or can you link to us what these releases are? Or it's not even, you know, I'm going to say I don't think Brett Payne is corrupt. I think Brett Payne is just a little short on fucking screws and bolts up in his head. I mean, this is not the first time that these folks have done this. I don't know if she said bushy eyebrows. She may have. I think they claim she did. But her entire another thing, and this is what really pisses me off. Americans have given away their freedom because they're too fucking stupid to understand that to charge you with a crime, there has to be solid information that reasonable people would accept. That entire fucking warrant was written in a way to suggest to a reasonable person that Brian was involved in this crime. And yet, every one of those fucking stories are false. And none of you guilters out there want to pay attention to that. You think like you watch the fucking TV, which I do for entertainment. I keep it on in the background. I've been watching a ton of shit in physics lately. And I leave true crime on in the background, whatever show. I won't watch any of this fucking NCI shit where they're doing all this fucking lying to you about the sampling. Man, you've been brainwashed. You just don't know it. Apparently, court docs. What's the accused for? No. I mean, you can get into the DNA. There's so many ways to destroy the availability of that being brought in. The crime scene just wasn't handled properly. Not even close. I mean, there's so much that they did fucked up here that it's almost insane to try to get it all into a court hearing. Yeah, but there is no fingerprint on the sheath. There's not a fingerprint on the sheath. There's DNA. There's transfer DNA. And they're not, I don't, they may not be able to get that out, but Ann's job, because this judge is not going to do the right thing. When cops used to march up the hill to knock him, I don't know about any of that. I try not to pay attention to anything that isn't directly related to the crime there, musical. And when I say directly related to the crime, everything that's out there could be it. But everything that you hear out here with all of these different streams, except a few, are just conversations that get clicks. There's just no reason to suggest that Enon Harsh did it, right? Brent Kopacka did it. The drug dealers did it. The kids running down on the Banfield did it. The guy at the grub truck looks suspicious. He did it. Look at this guy over here. He did it. I mean, it's just kind of crazy talk. I know the jury pool has been poisoned. I don't know that Ann has the wherewithal. And I think this is one of the things that a lot of people that know me that have actually, and they practice law themselves, has all told me, you should have been a lawyer. Because you've got to keep things simple. You really got to keep things simple. And the simple fact of the matter is that you have to ignore the entire PCA. It's all unverifiable. It's all untrue. Unverifiable is a nice way to say it's all a lie. And they knew it was a lie when they wrote it. None of their analysis of video and none of their analysis of pings put Brian Koberger near that house that entire night. As a matter of fact, with all of the technology available to them, every single phone trace and trap that they put on Brian Koberger, every single investigation into the location of him and his phone, going back from the day he fucking moved to that town, shows Brian Koberger nowhere near that house. And they knew that in the beginning. And they turned that information into a tall tale to make it appear as if he was present at that home that night. But there is no evidence to place Brian there, and the DNA cannot be considered. It cannot be considered, nor can the blood on the handrail or the blood on the glove, and equal quantities. Single source evidence like that could have a million explanations. Even worse, beyond the fact of blood, way beyond blood, you're talking about, and I would hammer this home all the time, 70-80% of the dust in your house is dead skin cells. Not one person in that jury won't go home and clean their house. I fucking guarantee it. Every hotel room you're in, 70-80% of the dust is there. It's from everybody that was there before you. How you like them? Now, go lay your head down and have a good night's sleep. How you like them fucking apples? Every fucking walk across the carpet, every time you fluff your pillow or move your fucking bed sheets, you're breathing in other people's dead skin cells. Okay? I want to warn people, just so you know, that if you're one of the people like me that didn't have any kind of fucking medical attention during what happened a couple of years ago, don't fuck with people that have. You understand? Don't fuck with the people that have. Because their fucking trash DNA that comes off of them will then affect you. Okay? I think he's got to lean towards a Franks, but I think Ann has kind of shot herself in the foot for that because this poor bastard judge, this idiot fuck, is thinking that Ann believes the DNA found on that sheath, even though it's Brian's, is protected by the Constitution. And I don't know why the fuck, who the fuck the prosecution thinks they are, and who the fuck this judge thinks he is to make that fucking leap. That's not what this woman is saying. Not even close. Okay? It's not even close. Right? And as I said, this is the best analysis you're going to get online. There's nobody else out there that's going to give you an analysis that's this fucking simple to understand. And it's again, it goes to what I've been saying for 2 years. You can't accuse me of fucking robbing something on Tuesday when the crime didn't happen till fucking Friday. Sorry, it doesn't work that fucking way. Even if I committed the crime on fucking Friday, you lose. You lose. You dumb fuckers. It doesn't. It's not how the system is designed to work. finding us, even a fingerprint there. Right? Yeah, well, I don't know that I'm so happy that he's asking about possible dates. I really think Ann Taylor needs help. And I wish she would admit that. She needs help, and she needs just some talking points. She needs Post-it notes in front of her on her folder. Okay? There is bias and negligence in that courtroom, and this judge and these judges all think they're fucking gods. I remember, listen, I'll tell you a story about how fucked up judges can be. I got into a dispute with a girl. And we had a huge argument. I forget what happened because I was all fucked up on drugs at the time too. But her father was the chief of a local police department. And it happened in her town. And it wasn't me hitting her or something. I don't remember what it was. So they arrest me. And I go to jail in their holding cell. And I know this judge is close friends with her father. Because I knew the whole history. I knew this person and I knew all these connections. So the judge comes in. And he says, now you're in my world, you little son of a bitch. He said, you're going to be spending the night with us. And I said, yeah, I doubt it. He says, your bail is $500. And I said, all right, cool. I said, they got $500 out there. I'll be out of here in no time. He says, $5,000. I said, that's fine too. So what do you fucking think? You think I'm afraid of spending a little bit of money? I'll be out of here tonight, you fucking asshole. He says, $50,000. I said, big fucking deal. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? He said, 500,000. Bang! Hits the fucking thing. Throw him in the cell. And because of that interaction with that judge, that whole case was derailed. Right? Because I enticed the fucking judge. I'm telling you the truth, Heidi. This really happened. I can give judge names. I can give you the town. I can give you all of that, but I'm not going to get that personal. That changed the whole scope of the case. As a matter of fact, to the extent that they took the case away from him. And it got brought to a different jurisdiction and eventually dismissed. That's what judges think. They're all of this in a bag of fucking chips. They're the fucking boss. Don't question me. Well, boy, did he fuck up, right? I knew when he said fucking 50,000, I was in trouble. But then when I fucking was like, who do you think you're fucking talking to? And he fucking says, you. He says, really? 500,000. Bang. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm fucking going to bed here. I was a fucking jerk off. I don't know if I was a badass. I was an asshole. I'm still an asshole. I'm just on a different path with it. You'll always be who you are, folks. I don't care what. I stopped doing drugs. Doesn't mean I stopped being me. I just don't fucking do drugs. I'm still a fucking asshole. I'm still arrogant. I'm still narcissistic. I'm still all of them fucking things. And you know what? I love me. I don't give a fuck about anybody else, right? So, and that only holds true. If I walked out my door and a mailman passed out or something, I'd fucking immediately offer first aid. I've saved a woman from choking to death in a hospital. I saved the family of four in an overturned vehicle on a fucking divided highway. I've done a lot of things in my life that were absolutely great, the right things. I saved a facility that treats for no charge 4,000 drug addicts a month, and they've been doing it now for more than 20 years because of me. I raised the money to secure the location, to get a not-for-profit going, and to do what had to be done. And that building is still here today, still in my city, still doing the things that it does to help people with addiction. I was the vice president of the board. I went on fucking public television and told the whole community I was a drug addict, that I had problems and the shit that I did, and that I needed them to send me money because this facility was going to be bought out by a fucking bar. And here we're trying to keep people with drinking problems and drug problems off the fucking street. And all of a sudden, this bar is going to get town grants and city grants. The mayor wants to help this bar owner, the fucking state. And meanwhile, you got 4,000 fucking people coming through here every month that are keeping themselves off the street, trying to clean up their life. And you want to kick them out to put a fucking bar in here? The very reason they're in here to begin with is because of bars. Not directly because of bars, but because of the availability of alcohol. And they're here as a result to kick that habit. And you want to kick us out so you can put a bar in? I was all over the fucking news because that was such a diverse fucking argument. I went after the senator in our state that was in charge of the fucking some drug program, Mothers Against Drugs or something, drunk driving. And she was a fucking state official. I went after her because she got a DWI. Kind of a fucking mother against drug driving are you when you're driving drunk, you stupid bitch? Yeah, bro. I raised $50,000 in 40 hours. And most of it, and a lot of those hours were sleeping hours. I was taking a dump. And I always carry my cell phone with me. And I was taking a dump. And while I was taking a dump, the phone rang. And the guy's like, I'll give you $10,000 if you protect my anonymity. I said, I don't even know who you are. He started laughing. Oh, it was funny. Yeah, I've got all the documents in my basement. I could prove everything I've said to anybody. Anything I've ever said online, I can prove in documentation. And people could dig shit up on me and say I did this and say, and I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I did. I don't have any need to defend myself. To defend myself against what? Stupid things that I chose to do. I was the one that suffered more than anybody else, right? No, I know you guys are gonna doubt, but my point is I don't really have any fear of these people, these tough guys on the internet. They're gonna dox you. Go ahead. What the fuck? Who knows? Maybe I'll find a fucking couple broads to lay. I don't know. Maybe your mother will come by if you dox me. She probably will. Right? I'm that kind of a fucked up guy. I can't help it. Okay. Warning label, Nina. But in this case of the Idaho 4, it's probably the most blatant, in-your-face miscarriage of fucking process. I can't even call it a miscarriage of justice because there's been no ruling in the case. Okay? It's a miscarriage of process of the 10th degree. You can't get any worse than what these police have done here. They literally framed a man because one piece of evidence identified him. And you don't even know if it's evidence because there is no direct evidence in this case. There is no direct evidence of anybody being in that home. It's as if Casper the Friendly Ghost got pissed off and took these 4 kids out. I'm sorry. I feel real bad for Steve that he doesn't see what they're doing to Koberger and he isn't on the other fucking side of this. This guy, if he did kill my fucking kids, then he knows the other people that were involved. I'm surprised he could see that hearing and it get revealed to him that there was blood on a railing and blood on a glove right outside the sliding door. And he's not freaking the fuck out. I don't understand. If you want justice for your daughter, those pieces of evidence have to mean something. I suspect that those fucking pieces of evidence, it's crazy. No, Steve Gonzalez or Gonclaves or whatever the fuck his name is, as a parent, I'd be fucking livid. What do you mean? There was 4 potential men in that house? And Dylan, that's why they said that Dylan, she confused the grand jury. And that there was one grand juror that wasn't very happy, right? Back in the day when all that took place, when he was indicted. That probable cause, you never, ever, ever, ever waive your right to a fucking probable cause hearing. Never. Judges always offer that. Well, I'll enter your plea of guilty and we'll waive the probable cause hearing. Do you agree with that, Mr. Smith? Yes, Your Honor. Because your lawyer tells you to. You never, ever, ever, ever waive the probable cause hearing. That's the only fucking point in any fucking charges levied against you that you can question the actions of the fucking arresting officers and the processes and things that you went under. Your Honor, I wasn't read my fucking rights. And you now know in the Brian Koberger case that he wasn't read his rights until he got back to the police station. And then one of the arresting fucking officers had a recorder running. You can't do that. But they did. So you don't have a body cam? You got a fucking secret undisclosed recorder in your fucking pocket? You Pennsylvania fucking prick? You piece of fucking shit? Where's your fucking body camera? I mean, to suggest we don't have him here. Well, you're criminal enough to know you carry a fucking tape recorder in your pocket, right? Anything on that? Any questioning of Brian Koberger, any statements he made before his fucking Mirandizing are inadmissible in a court of law. It's fucking crazy, man. These are the common ground issues. When I bring up things where there's a lot of people out here, and we all do really have common ground. Yeah, I don't know her pushing whether he went in or not. Maybe he did, and the parents will testify that he did. And they demolished the house because Idaho law allows them to. They should. The defense, the problem is there wasn't any. Brian Koberger needs outside representation. He literally needs outside representation to come and join or take that case from Ann. I listen to the lawyer, I listen to a bunch of these other people. I try to fucking bear with them. And I just can't do it. They're not willing to call out the government, the system, the process. They're just not. Until enough shit comes forward that they then have to. And then they tell you, well, this story about whether he was there or not doesn't matter because they have a direct DNA match between the buccal swab and the knife sheath. Well, the buccal swab would never have been attainable if they didn't tell all those lies in the probable cause affidavit. This is Ann's point. If they would have went in and said, we have transfer DNA that was sent to a lab that amplified it, and then possessed by the FBI, who kept no documentation and no track, who then took the amplified sample and ran it into prohibited databases to where they came to the name Brian Koberger inside the prohibited databases. That's all the evidence they got. That's it. And we don't even know, Your Honor, if that evidence is accurate because of the process and the backdoor and the lies that they've told. And they're defining not only who it belongs to, but to define who it belongs to required them to break rules. They didn't document it. They didn't save their work. They didn't store any of the fucking analysis they made. Nothing. And they went into databases and decided it was Brian Koberger, threw everything away, and now you're telling me that buccal swab and that fucking knife sheath are the same. And that everything before matters not at all. That's the argument of the government in a nutshell. That's their entire argument. And I said this before, I don't give a fuck if this guy killed these people. I give a fuck about how our justice system has been perverted and twisted and turned into a criminal fucking enterprise for them to decide who's guilty, for them to be judge, jury, and executioner. I don't fucking assign my fucking freedom to the fucking jerk off wearing a fucking badge, right? Fuck you. I don't assign my fucking freedom to you. You're here to defend and protect my freedom, you stupid cocksucker. In that capacity, I love you. But the minute you step outside of that capacity, you're a no good piece of shit that shouldn't even be a janitor. Take that fucking badge off and turn it in. You fucking jerk off. That's the problem we have here. Yeah, and I rant and rave, and I'm fucking verbally abusive about it, but fuck them. Who the fuck do these people think they are? This is the United States of America. I'm the government, not you. You're fucking employed. The minute you put that fucking uniform on, you're my employee. You're the fucking defender of freedom and justice. And that's the way you need to behave. And that work, when shown, what can be shown about everything you just wrote, Clark, is unverifiable data that can't tell you who anything or anybody or anything in the fucking footage shows. The cell data can't help you locate Brian at that crime scene. The car information can't help you put Brian. It does everything except that. All that information can do is show you he wasn't there. Alec Baldwin was dismissed because the prosecution brought the wrong case. They do this all the time, especially Republicans in federal government and the lawyers they hire. I could have had the Roe v. Wade fucking overturned immediately. Roe v. Wade would never have become law of the land, ladies, because Roe v. Wade was never enshrined within the constitutional freedoms and protections we have against government. Government cannot impose upon states what they shall and shall not do with you medically. But the state can certainly make fucking rules where you live. That was the argument that should have been brought in 1970 fucking 2. From the moment it was brought forward, the argument should have always been. And yet every single case they handpicked to go to the Supreme Court to argue against abortion kept making women think more and more in men that us Republicans hate women. And that's not the case at all. I mean, there is fucking today, there's so many drugs to prevent pregnancy and to even stop a pregnancy from becoming a pregnancy with a morning after pill, that the need for abortion should be fucking in our rearview mirror. No woman should engage in sexual activity out of a choice and face the consequence of having to take the life of that baby. And in today's day and world, believe it or not, science has got us to the point where that can be absolutely true. And only in the rare instances do the scientific methods that are being employed not work. Such a very rare amount that those children could be adoptable. Or I guess you could abort them. But if we did the things the way we're supposed to do things, right? You don't stick your fucking chicken in the oven and not turn the oven on. You don't fucking take your milk out of the refrigerator and leave it on the counter. There's just certain things you do and you don't do. You don't run outside in the fucking snow with no shoes on. I'm not saying you can't do that, but it's not a very good fucking idea, and consequences could result. So if you're going to engage in sex, right, then I'm the last motherfucker to tell you not to have sex. I want you to have sex. I want you to do whatever fucked up stuff's in your head. Go ahead. As long as it ain't hurting anybody, it's not criminal and it's not against a child. And it's not being forced upon any partner, man, woman, or whatever. Right? Don't bang a dog. Leave the dogs and cats alone. Quit fucking sheep. Leave them alone. If it's your sister, if you're both of age, bang away to your heart's content. Old Sarge ain't going to complain. I'm not going to stand in judgment of you. Okay? What the fuck? First of all, it's none of our business. But second of all, you got to be a little bit more fucking realistic with the world we live in. And be more critical of things that really, really, really affect your life. You guys need to say no to sex. That's true. I agree with you. If he can't help with the baby, you're right. Look at Grant. Where's Carl? Carl's an old timer. He's got views that go back to the 1750s. I don't know what books Carl's reading, but I don't think any book Carl reads has broken the year 1800. Nonetheless, he's still a good guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, making fun of him or trying to cause a big blow up between Carl and I. I just think that when you talk to him and listen to him, he's a great guy. I just think his reasoning is based on the pre-industrial age. Is Carl on a date? I don't think he's on a date. Is he? Where's his woman in here? His woman ain't here? Yeah, folks, I just find it a bit insane that so many of us. What is going on? Hang on. All right, so I got how many people up here? I got 94 people on X. Well, X people of X, thank you very much. I appreciate the numbers. I do real well on X when it comes to getting the viewers up, because I think in the stream we got like 155 or 100 and something, and on X we've got almost 100 of them. It's pretty awesome, man. Let me see here. Upgrade to premium, my ass. Where else? I think HIPPLER may surprise you too. I hope he does. I'm so disturbed by him repeating the argument of the prosecution that the DNA sample found on the sheath, he thinks she's arguing that that's protected by the Constitution. And he gets that from the state, and that isn't what she is arguing at all. Like she keeps saying, I don't want to live in a country where only one piece of information can get you arrested. I appreciate that there, Beckles. Let me think here. Where did my shit go on X? Did I lose X? I might have lost my ability to join my own X fucking page. Let's see here. Look at that. Only in America could a former McDonald's. This is kind of fucked up, but this is hardly true, but interesting anyway. It says, only in America could a former McDonald's employee and garbage man rise to become the president of the United States. That's what we call living the American dream, right? Remember when President? I got to turn up the volume. I'm sorry. That shit's kind of funny, isn't it? No, it's. I don't have any problem when people disagree. Yeah, I think that he really disturbed me, and when the prosecution came up to reinforce the judge's point, and the prosecution made that argument like it's ridiculous, it's ludicrous. Of course it is, you fucking jerk off. And never said that. She never said evidence found that a crime scene is protected by whoever owns its constitutional fucking Fourth Amendment. She never said that. But that's what the fucking prosecution's trying to make the argument about, and that is not the argument. Okay? If you took only the transfer DNA and everything else is non-existent, a warrant would never have been issued, and there never would have been a buccal swab by Brian Koberger. That's the argument she's making. It's very simple. He didn't turn his phone off. He didn't drive through Moscow. He didn't drive around that house 3 times. He didn't park and get out and commit the murders. Their evidence proves he was everywhere except there. And Mr. Koberger has already said that he was out, and often was out at late hours of the morning, and drove in the very similar areas that they're trying to claim that he was in. He's not arguing that. He's telling you he was never at that house, and he can't tell you, and he has no idea how his transfer DNA got tied into this crime. And so when you remove the idea of the story, take the story out, because the story is a lie, an intentional lie by the police. They intentionally misrepresented this information in that warrant to then go forward to get the warrant to arrest and get his buccal swab. That's what we're saying. We're not saying that the evidence itself. Okay? You can't kick down someone's fucking door without a warrant and find fucking drugs and guns and fucking on their fucking coffee table and arrest them and then realize you kicked down the wrong door. I mean, what the fuck? That's true. You just can't do that. Right? Yeah, there may be some truth to that, Grant. I thought the 20 asked if you want your DNA kept private. They do. There's a policy directly written towards law enforcement that states that the law enforcement is entitled to use this database with the proper paperwork filed with the company. Same thing with metadata and with fucking Facebook and Twitter and X and all of these companies. You need warrants that are specific. Like that one lawyer said, you can't fucking subpoena the whole pile of hay looking for a needle. Or you can't support you can't fucking have a warrant that's open that allows you to do anything, anywhere, everywhere. That's not what warrants are supposed to be about. I mean, why investigate if you could do that? What's the point of having anybody to investigate? You don't need a detective. Just shovel all the shit onto that cart and take it all. Well, we think that guy Enon Harsh is involved. Go take his apartment apart. Take his vehicle. Oh, no, wait, the guy at the band field. Oh, the guy at the grub truck. Just go take his shit apart and look. That's not how it works. That's what they did, but that is not how it works. That's essentially what they did to Koberger. None of their data that they assembled that made probable cause look probable had anything to do with probable. The only probable thing that happened there is they probably lied every fucking chance they could get, which in fact they did. So the only probable cause you have should be against those arresting officers. What do you mean, people at Beckles? What did Beckles say? I'm missing. She just had people come over the counter. I worry about the safety. Customers want everything to be free. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. My daughter's the general manager of McDonald's. I don't know why we're talking about, anyway, maybe because I mentioned Trump worked at McDonald's. Anyhow, surprised it's not a RICO case with all of them. I often wonder, folks, and I said this in the very beginning, You know, we're not really being told what the FBI or what the feds were looking at. And if the feds were looking at anything connected to Mr. Kohlberger, remember that came up quite a while ago? We don't know. There's so much shit that's happened. But there's some things that, like I said, that are unique enough that you should keep a hold of them. Yeah, it's that, and it's interesting to find out that it looks likely that Bethany did see a dude naked or otherwise leaving that property. That's what we got. We have Mr. Kohlberger being framed, and that's just it. Just shouldn't be acceptable to anybody. And all you true crime fucking sleuths, you creators, the only thing you people create is fucking ignorance out here. I'm not a creator either. I don't create anything when I come out here. The fuck kind of title people put, they like they're fucking something grand. What do you think? You're God? You created something? You fucking streaming fucking twits? You're not creators. You're not content creators. The fucking content creates itself. Someone got stabbed and now you talk about it. You're not creating fucking anything. How about that drip dropper, that fucking jerk off? The fucking guy with the parachutes on the deck and people jumping off 1-inch fucking, Jesus, tiny fucking tree limbs. He leaped from the tree limb onto a deck and went in through the window. A window full of knickknacks and fucking boots and fucking college age girly stuff in the window. And he not only got in through that window, he didn't disturb it. He closed the fucking window and he put the blinds back in place, making it look like nobody went through that window. I mean, how can anybody watch a fucking guy that thinks he's the fucking smartest crime sleuth on the internet? That actually shows you how stupid he is in his videos. He literally advertises his ignorance. That guy, what's his name? Is it Drip Drop, that crime circus fucking moron? Unbelievable. But even in that moron, even in his fucking stories, I will jump through a whole bunch of streamers, even ones I can't stand, to see if they've come up with any information or data points or they've got some fact that I've missed. I will do that. I'll torture myself. Yeah, I wonder if those agents, though, Trish, I haven't seen evidence. Maybe there is, and I've missed it. Of that 64 agents in Moscow. I was under the impression early on that there was training going on in Moscow with the feds, and I've often wondered, were the feds really in Idaho to train, or were they in Idaho to investigate? I don't know. That Chris McFucking donut. There's another these, and it's very perplexing to me how the public doesn't hold any of these people to account by turning their back on them. The only way to hold public officials to account, or public businesses or any business, is to stop spending your money there. And on the internet, it's to stop fucking going to their webpage. It's stop going to their fucking broadcast. Yeah, ask Pavarotti. He's the fucking genius of it all. There's a guy. He's got it solved. He's got every witness named and everything, and every boom. And what a fucking jerk off that guy is. The next time you guys watch Pavarotti, and I'm not saying don't watch the guy, but keep an eye on his left fucking eyebrow and how his fucking left eye and his eyebrow has got these fucking twitches. That guy's got tardive dyskinesia or something. He's taking some kind of medication, and it fucked up some involuntarily fucking movements. That guy's fucked up. He's the con man of con men. And I don't look at. If my stream is going to be classified as anything, it would be for adult educational services. Okay, that's it. Because in what I observe and in how I explain how I come to these observations is where you're being taught things. When I say a crime scene that's completely fucking never talked about being broken into, right? That's part of that needs to be investigated. But Sarge, he knows what happened. Yeah, Pavarotti knows everything. Pavarotti can tell you to the fucking second what's happened here. And everything that comes forward to show that Mr. Kohlberger's accusations are false and unverifiable is another fucking feather in his cap to argue how right he is. I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. All of these people that have solved this crime with all of these woulda, coulda, shouldas, or maybes, or this or that, or we got video image on a phone of the girls being killed. We got this, we got that. You got to blow these images up to the point of fucking insanity. You could blow my image up and see the Andromeda galaxy in there somewhere, for fuck's sakes. No, he's not the one they called with the tip. The tip is the FBI. Ann's been clear about that. And if you guys have watched these hearings, and not just people talking about the hearings on YouTube, watch the hearings. Get a pen and paper. Take some notes. I wrote a couple of notes down. It says, if FBI fucked, the judge did say that. The judge did say that. If the FBI, he didn't say it this way, but he essentially said, if the FBI fucked up, it's on you, the state. HIPPLER said that, and I was glad he said that. Okay? The tip itself is the FBI. But imagine a tip where you had to manipulate evidence. Imagine a tip that required lab work. Imagine a tip that required the employment of genealogists. Imagine a tip that was created because the genealogists weren't constrained by law enforcement rules because they were independent contractors. This is how your government does these criminal things against us. Trump is now going after the non-governmental organizations, the not-for-profit, non-governmental, or he's going after them, and he should. None of this system, the police should not be able to work outside the bounds of anything that they're denied. If you're not supposed to search a database, and even in that statement that the DOJ put out, if you do, they don't really say it with the words, if you do, but if any of this work is going to be used in any kind of criminal prosecution, it needs to be saved. That's why, folks, they're trying to keep this out of the DNA and the genealogy out of it, because the FBI didn't save anything. Here's what happened. Hey, doctor, here's what happened. The FBI was involved because they were helping, and then the FBI was told that they were able at Othram to amplify that sample, and the FBI said, send it to us. The FBI took that sample and ran it through a process that would give them a name. That was it. If a name could be derived from this information, we'll get it. And that's what they went and did. They went and got a name. They gave that name to the Idaho police. And the Idaho police, rather than investigating that tip, listen, a tip isn't the basis for a fucking arrest. It's a tip. That tip, once given, Brian Kohlberger, they then looked for Brian Kohlberger to try to support the presence of him in that house. And they fabricated the information that they had. They lied about it. And they painted a picture that would make any reasonable person think that Kohlberger was involved. And a warrant to arrest was issued. That's what happened here. That's how this worked. That's why this is a clusterfuck. And the IGG is considered a tip. And that none of this needs to be discussed. Now, if they knew that that was going to be a tip, if the FBI had a active role, the FBI would have had a case file. And the FBI would have followed the DOJ guidance. But that wasn't the basis under which that they were tasked to do their work. Idaho gave them information to see if they could produce a name. That was it. A tip, which is what the FBI did. The FBI doesn't go into a case with that kind of DNA, with that kind of limited amount of DNA, and then one single source of it regardless of where it was located, even the FBI didn't think that this DNA evidence was ever going to be used in court. And for you guilters out there, you need to listen to this. They honestly did their job, which a lot of us in the public disagree with how they did what they did. However, what they did was consistent with what somebody generally, with what law enforcement's backdoor way of creating a tip was. But that tip was never meant to be used to arrest Brian Koberger. And that's what Moscow did. That's why you have this big fucking secret sealed fucking, we don't want to talk about the genealogy, because they didn't follow the rules. They didn't document their work. They didn't keep the names and keep track of the evidence and who touched it, and who didn't, and who decided, and who looked, and where did they go. And they didn't keep all of that. And so chain of custody is an issue. The validity of the results is an issue, right? And all of those things would have been saved by the FBI if the FBI was given a sample, for instance, that was scattered throughout the crime scene. Samples of a single source male DNA that match each other. That would have been a serious process that they would have put that through. And they would have kept all of the required information so that when they arrested this guy, right? Bing, 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 boom. That's how this worked out. This just so you know, folks, a lot of what you see happening isn't out and out corruption like the boogeyman's coming to get us. A lot of what you see happen in law enforcement that's substandard is just through ignorance or laziness or improper training. Well, I don't know that that's what they investigated him for, Joanne. How do you know that they investigated him for stalking? Now, you may know. I'm not saying you're lying or anything, but you may have something we can reference to see that that's what the FBI actually did. Yeah. Can I just say that what the federal grand jury, this is important. Let me break down what she's saying here. Well, no, I'm going to give people an example of something. Listen, if you think it's me that committed the crime, prosecutions have the option to seat a grand jury. They do this in RICO all the time. They seat the grand jury, and these are the targeted people, and these are the crimes we think these people committed. Okay? And they'll show their information to the grand jury. And the grand jury will say, nah, I don't know. And then they'll go back and forth, and then they'll ask, what do you need? What do you see as missing? And the grand jury will say, we'd like to see something. Or the cops will ask for a warrant from the grand jury to issue, because grand juries can issue warrants to continue the investigation blindly behind the back of the fucking perpetrator. That's why you have secret grand juries. And you bring the information to them. The feds gave MLE information to guide their investigation in the direction they went. It wasn't even, it might be a form of guidance, but when you find DNA samples and you can identify them and give names to the agency and the locals, I don't have a problem with that. When you've got to send it to third party contractors, or when your own agents break the user agreement rules, and you're going into a database where the expectation of privacy exists because that particular site tells you that law enforcement doesn't have access to your DNA. That's when you would, that under those circumstances, police have no right to enter that database without a warrant. Those are arguments that she's making. They're honest arguments. And I don't see how a judge could determine that they're not valid. 23andMe, if I'm not mistaken, does not allow law enforcement, and it tells you that your DNA will not be released or be searched by law enforcement without your express permission, right? And that we require law enforcement bring a warrant. So when those statements are made to the purchaser, right, then they have the absolute right to expect privacy. And if you go at it without getting a warrant, then you violated their Fourth Amendment. That's another argument she's making, and she's absolutely correct on that, right? I don't want to hear this shit, but your DNA is left everywhere. Your DNA is left everywhere you go. It's transfer DNA. That's why she was arguing that this DNA is everywhere. Everywhere you go, you leave DNA behind. So for anybody thinking this isn't transfer DNA in that knife sheath, if you watch the hearing, you'll know there's no other fucking form of DNA. This is not a fingerprint. She kept saying like a fingerprint, it could be left anywhere. But we're not talking about a fingerprint in this case. We're talking about skin cells, dead skin cells, right? And in your accessing to try to identify that, the information that you had freely available could not give you a name. And I'm telling you, folks, if the FBI considered that sample to be of significance to solving this criminal murder case, they would have then gotten warrants. I want you to understand, they didn't do anything wrong except lie. I mean, the FBI lied, but the reason that they lied is they themselves didn't find significance in what was given them as something that would solve this crime. That's probably why they handle it this way. And all it is a name in the end, right? Which is what it actually was. But in this particular instance, okay, they opened their ass up to the wind when they went and used databases that object to them getting into them and using them for that fucking purpose. Yeah, that not only that, Trish, the sheath was found under the comforter, under the victim, face down on the bed. Well, no blood, apparently. We don't know anything more about it than that. And we know that brass will destroy DNA in under 4 hours. Destroy it. Literally destroy it. So brass will not maintain DNA. The leather sheath, that DNA could sit in that leather sheath for 100 years. But when in contact with certain metals and certain surfaces, DNA degrades. Okay? And it dies and it goes away. It becomes unidentifiable. Brass is the number one metal that does that. He didn't say he saw, I don't think he said he saw the insignia from the door. You think that knife sheath would have made? I think that I don't know what to think about I can't. I question every conclusion they make because, listen, go hire a plumber, okay? Go hire a plumber. And when the plumber's done for the day, you got a leak, and you bring him back. How many times are you going to allow this plumber to leave you with a leak before you go get another plumber? That's the problem in this case. I don't know about all the retesting. I don't know where you got that from, so I can't really talk to that. You simply, folks, get to a point where if all the information in the probable cause affidavit is unusable, then anything that derived from the warrant that was produced on that unusable information is now fruit from the poison tree. And that's the argument she needs to make simple to the court. Real simple. And not, if he asks questions, she just needs to say, Your Honor, I've already answered that question. Everything in the PCA that's circumstantial, that makes it look reasonable that Mr. Kohberger was in that house, is all a lie. The police knew it was a lie. And they wrote it in such a way to create a story of his presence. Therefore, the issuance of the arrest warrant itself is unconstitutional. And any evidence collected, no matter where it came from, no matter where in the house it resided, no matter what room it was with, none of that matters. They could test that DNA until the end of humanity's existence, and it wouldn't matter, right? She just didn't really. That's the argument she needs to give that Judge fucking HIPPLER. Right, they did amplify it. And so she said that the DNA showed up at the FBI twice as large of a sample than what they were given. And I made that argument about finding the fragment of a bullet. and I know a bullet isn't DNA, but nonetheless, if you have to reconstruct a bullet from a fragment, what is your fucking confidence of accuracy? Statistically is how DNA is analyzed. So if you have a fragment and you're going to start amplifying it, the amplification depends completely on statistics, and statistics aren't the absolute truth. There is no truth, right? And saying, that 1 out of 10 people die this way. It's a statistic. That doesn't mean every 10th person that's live is going to drop dead this moment. Statistically, meaning that's the most likely outcome, but not the only outcome, because out of that 1 for 10, some of these people fucking slipped in their bathtub. Some of them died from a car accident. Somebody with leukemia died from falling off a fucking roof. You don't know. And that's the problem with statistics. We don't take statistics as facts, but the media has programmed us to do that. Studies have been done about gun violence. Well, how about the fucking studies that aren't done about how many people are saved because a citizen has his own privacy to his own protection, right? I don't know who Gibbons personally is. It's the chain of custody. I agree with you, Sherlock. The chain of custody is an issue here. The handling of the fucking DNA sample that caused it to be doubled is an issue. But those issues don't even need to be argued. That's what's muddying up the waters for her. There's so much fucked up in this case that Anne, I think, is over fucking thought the case. She needs to ignore the DNA. Completely fucking ignore it. And lay the case out in simple terms. There is no evidence he turned off his phone. The evidence of Brian Kohlberger's movements that night begin by showing him going south from Pullman, south, towards Huawei Park. That's provable, and he admits to that. The other indications that they suggest make my client the perpetrator are relying on videos of vehicles in that area that can't be identified, nor connected to my client at all. None, not even close. They can't even tell you for sure that it was a Hyundai Elantra. That was used in the warrant. The times that they specifically quote suspect vehicle 1, which they're trying to attribute, they're trying to convince you that is him. But their data clearly shows it can't be him. Yet they used it anyway. The 12 previous trips that they claimed in their warrant, which indicated he might be stalking them to plan the crime, are a lie and shouldn't have been in that warrant. These are all unverifiable facts that they use, unverifiable data that they use to paint the picture of this man being in that house. That is all false. Therefore, Your Honor, I expect the entire case to be dismissed, and I expect any evidence collected to be burned in an incinerator as fruit from the poison tree. I'd make it that simple for the judge. Do with it what you will, but this is where we are with this case. I didn't lie. I didn't say Brian was here when he wasn't. I didn't bring it to a magistrate and suggest he stalked these victims. We didn't do that. The police did. And they had every fucking obligation on earth, every microscopic fucking force at their fucking fingertips. Every single resource of every single scientific fucking lab and every theory and every law book was at their fingertips. And rather than follow the fucking information to where it led, they set the information up in a sequence of events that makes you believe Mr. Kohlberger was there. It's a lie. And they prove it's a lie when you take their information and hold it up and read it. That's why I'm here. I mean, she should have kept it real, not even argued these points. It just kept pounding that at the judge. I'm sorry. My client was not there. I don't want to talk about the DNA. My client wasn't there. Their own testimony, their own analysis, their own scientific arguments prove he wasn't there. They know it proves he wasn't there. They knew it when they wrote it. They knew, like you know, Your Honor, that just a single source of DNA in a crime scene is not enough to charge a person with a quadruple homicide. You know that to be true, Judge HIPPLER. And so where are we? Why is my man still in jail for 2 years? On what? On the lies of the Moscow Police Department? That's why I said a long time ago, I don't say this kid didn't do it. No. But fuck these people that are in charge of carrying out and protecting our fucking rights. Fuck these people that ran this case the way they ran this. Fuck those jerk-offs that wrote this fucking warrant that is exculpatory. It's completely exculpatory. And yet they wrote it to make it look inculpatory to convince a magistrate to charge this fucking guy with 4 murders. That's always been my contention. It's always been my beef. And I really wish Ann would make it that simple to the court. And don't deliver it the way old Sarge delivers it. The judge will take you out in contempt. But in whatever legal-esque fucking poem you need, that's the way you need to frame the case to the court. You're right, Yvonne. Where is what do you mean listen to Linda? How do I listen to Linda? Who's Linda? Jennings chuckled. Stop it. Oh. Yeah, that woman in the corner. I wanted to smack that prosecutor that came forward and talked about the expectation that Mr. Koberger has that the DNA in the knife sheath was protected by the constitutional. That's fucking bullshit. He's not making that argument at all. Ann is beside. When Ann heard, she's as indignant about it as I am, but she just can't come out verbally with it. That was like somebody came up behind her and threw a bucket of fucking cold water in her face. She just really can't believe that that's the position that they think she's arguing. I promise you that Ann is beside herself. Like you see me get beside myself. Where the fuck did they come up with that kind of stupid comment? That's the intensity of fucking problems that we have with this case. And for the investigators and the lawyers, you mean to tell me that out of all of these individuals involved, they can't make sense of what Ann is saying? Or they think that just because you found Brian's DNA at that house, that means Brian committed the crime? They forget that you now have to fill in all the blanks? Folks, not only that, he wasn't the only source of DNA found there. And for the judge to say, well, he could have been involved. Others could have been, it could be indicative, but others were involved. Well, that's exactly why you don't use transfer DNA. But that's exactly why DNA can't be used in solving this crime until you get a viable suspect that matches the samples. And it can only be a viable suspect that matches the samples when you make the suspect viable through direct evidence of their movements that night. That's the only way you have a suspect. That's the only way you have someone that you can charge with the crime. This isn't a whack-a-mole fucking game. The justice system isn't whack-a-mole, folks. It is a system of fucking accuracy. But we've been deprived any of that. Well, that's because Othram is a unique lab in that they claim to be able to test samples at less than 8 particles. Nobody else will test particles below 11. They claim they can go from 8 to 20. Most people are stuck at 20, 15, 18, and they have trouble with those samples. Othram claims that they have software that's proprietary that gives them the ability to make IDs and build a genome with their software. I'm telling you, none of that is relevant in this case because and that's that, man. And the guilters out there, no matter how many fucking times they're shown that the PCA is a lie, they act like, but he did it. How else did they get his DNA? And you just want to kick him in the fucking balls. Don't you understand that the argument to even touch this guy's DNA comes from a bunch of lies? That it's all completely unverifiable, and in fact, it's exculpatory 100%. So you don't need as an American to explain your DNA in that house. That's not your motherfucking job. My DNA, in all fairness, I'm going to say, bring freedom to DNA. My DNA can show up any motherfucking where. Okay? You know why? Because I'm a human being that sheds it 24 hours a day. 5 billion skin cells a fucking day. That's like 5,000 fucking skin cells a second. Unfucking believable. They did this in Italy to Amanda Knox. They've done this before with this bullshit fucking transfer DNA. And I'm telling you, that's probably the biggest reason. And I'm not really, the biggest reason, folks, the FBI did what they did was because they were given an amplified version of the evidence. Okay? That's why the FBI dealt with it this way. They did not and could not have foreseen the fucking jerk-offs in fucking Idaho doing what they did. They were given a sample. It was amplified. It was twice as big as the evidence that was collected. Okay? That's a problem. They took this knowing that that was the case, and they ran a genealogy thing. They were like, oh, he's not in any of these databases. For the fuck of it, let's see if he's in any other database. And they went in through the back door. But never, ever, ever, not even for a billionth or trillionth of a second, did anybody in that chain of fucking of events ever consider that sample would solve a murder case. There's no fucking, and here I'm giving the FBI latitude here for everybody that thinks I don't like people in authority or cops. I absolutely love people that follow the rules and do what's right, no matter what the fuck their job is. In this case, I don't hold the FBI at fault. I don't like what they did. I think what they did, there needs to be a law to stop them from doing it. But let's be clear. What they did wasn't to intentionally accuse anybody that they discovered. That's not what their shit was supposed to be. They treated it exactly like that. The feds did their limited job. That's why they didn't save any of the information, because they never considered this to amount to anything more than a name. And they did that. They provided a name. They never expected the fucking police in Idaho to then take that name, find unusual movements in their opinion, and turn those unusual movements into a fucking probable cause story that resulted in the arrest of this gentleman. They could never have imagined Idaho was going to do that. I said that in the very beginning when that one officer wrote in that document. If you can approve the warrant without the DNA, we would prefer that, because the DNA may be found inadmissible down the line in a court. That fucking cop was smart enough to know that. And I guarantee you, folks, I guarantee you that she knows that, because that's what the FBI told her. That this is not evidence of this person's commission or participation in a crime. You're saying it is. You're the guys that put this fucking story together, not us. And that's why the FBI has been so difficult and unwilling to cooperate with the fucking police in Moscow. It doesn't matter if it's the piece of it or the whole thing. That's the best thing about that argument. They want here's when you know you're dealing with a fucking asshole. An asshole like that fucking Jeff and all these other fucking people he hangs out with. Complete fucking utter assholes that think with their asshole and talk out of their asshole. It's because A, there's no argument beyond that. B, there's no evidence that's been talked about or even slipped out, which Anna's doing awesome by sticking shit out in the public. Otherwise, it's been kept secret. Right? None of that is evidence against Koberger. As a matter of fact, everything that we're unaware of turns out to be against the fucking cops and the government there. Okay? And two, everything we do know, even if that's not all of it, all that we do know is a lie. All of it. So who gives a fuck what comes after? Everything in that PCA is a story being told by the arresting officers. And I don't give a fuck what they haven't shared with us. It's going to be continuation of that story. You see? No, I think this is where he got her confused, and this is the section, Sherlock. I want to put that up there. This is where she stumbled. This is where she stumbled, and her answer to this question should be, Your Honor, I want to set the DNA aside and remind the court that everything alleging Brian was present at that home, which would make the DNA a relevant piece of evidence, highly relevant piece of evidence. Everything alleging his presence at the home is a lie, a knowing lie by the police, making that DNA sample a completely separate question. The DNA isn't connected to the story they told. The story they told has no bearing on the presence of that DNA. Therefore, we don't know how it got there. We know that everywhere we go, we leave skin cells. Everywhere we go, no matter where you go, we leave DNA. Maybe she didn't use skin cells. But that to me was where she's trying to argue too much and the judge is trying to absorb. And this guy hasn't lived the Idaho 4. We live it. We live it. And so because we live it, we're much more in tune with the nuances of what's going on. And she's not arguing that DNA should be private. She's arguing that they violated the constitutional right of Kohlberger when, in light of the fact that the PCA is a lie. Right? And the violation occurs when they couldn't identify anybody through the normal channels and they jumped in the databases without warrants. The violation comes in when they sent the DNA to Othram Lab under the authority. They should have got a warrant from a judge to further examine this DNA. They should have then got a warrant to amplify the DNA. They should have then got a warrant or some other legal document from a court overseeing what they're doing to send it to the FBI. There should have been things in place that were not in place in the handling of this evidence. And then the determination and the understanding of this evidence is where the violations are. Not and getting to Kohlberger to begin with was a lie. So even though they may have hit the jackpot, it doesn't matter. You lied. And all of your stories are false. The fact that you then found evidence on those false stories makes that evidence inadmissible and a violation of his Fourth Amendment rights and Sixth and others. Right? And that's true. A fucking knife sheath is not a murder weapon. And I'm glad I got on. I broke away from all of these theorizing about all these Banfields and these fucking Luna fucking ticks out here with all of that horse shit. When I started saying the car, there's no evidence that any car was used in that crime at all. The fact that the person entered and left through the sliding glass door is more of an indication the person left on foot. Or is equally, let's just say it's equally to determine that the person entered and left on foot. To me, that would mean that the perpetrator would have lived in the area. I could finally have a down at back if it was only that easy, Yvonne. What did Yvonne say? I see, that's a good one. Jurassic Park actually makes more sense. I get it. Yeah, and it's exasperating. As Americans, we don't all get together and do something. I mean, who's in here? I'll pay someone. Let's put up a petition. Let's write a letter to Ann Taylor. Let's do something and get a whole bunch of signatures on it. Let's rally around something that may be important. And I'm telling you, keeping it simple is the best thing she could possibly do. The evidence to support the probable cause affidavit is insufficient on its face. And worse, they knew that when they wrote it, making it a lie. Therefore, the entire case, sir, and all evidence collected from there forward is not admissible and the case should be dismissed. The question of whether my client did it or not is over. It's not even a relevant question at this point. It should not have been. Had the prosecution not went around the probable cause hearing, sir, my client would not still be in jail for more than 2 years. He would have been out of jail at the probable cause hearing. I don't know why. It could be a RICO case, but I don't see evidence to go that way. right? We do cover what we see every day. Yeah, and I don't see any argument for a RICO case in the information that we're discussing, Trish. That's the hardest thing to do, is to wrap your mind around the details that are available and stay within that line, within that box, for lack of a better word, and stay in the box of the data they're giving you and extrapolate the data as it's being given, and then add and subtract, right? I don't really fault anybody for coming up with ideas that it could be this or that, but where I draw the line is there shouldn't be millions of hours of conversation about theories like paparazzi or whatever the fuck that jerk off's name really is. Okay? I mean, if that's your thing and you want to spend your time on the internet talking about things that are never going to be provable, then yeah, okay. Right. It's the double speak. They're entitled to a fucking protective order, but where is their warrant to collect it? To me, they shouldn't be entitled to any protective warrant order when in fact you didn't use a warrant to collect it. You didn't collect their names under any fucking standardized evidence collection process. You did it through illegitimately entering databases you don't belong. Therefore, not only do those people not get protection, but the officers that did that need to be outed, right? No, I don't think the calculus is that real hard. There isn't that much unknown. Right? I mean, when you take that down, I don't know how it's difficult. There isn't that much unknown. And here's the point. Look at the point is, I want you guys, there's 171 of you in here. How many of you are on X? Right, most of you. So there's 60 of you. I think I'm the only one on fucking Rumble. There's 60 of you in here, right? So let me ask you this question. What was I saying? To 60 of you, a 1, you could do this on X2 in your chat if you can. A 1 is yes, a 2 is no. And here's the question. Do you see now that the PCA story is false? 1, yes. 2, no. Have you watched these hearings? Have you witnessed the arguments placed forward? Have you absorbed the additional information that we've been given? And are you able to conclude that the probable cause affidavit as written is false? Or do you think that it's still true? A 1 is false, a 2 is you think it's true. And if you think, based on the information that you've been exposed to, that the probable cause affidavit isn't accurate at all, then you have to ask yourself, without that, would Brian Koberger have been arrested? That's how you reasonably assess things. Daniel, you fucking dickhead, and others, Crime Circus, Drip Drop, get some fucking penicillin, you fucking masked fucking twit, you fucking midget, you're like that fucking T-Rev. Bunch of fucking brainless fucking clickbaiters that couldn't fucking, they couldn't confess to a crime they committed because these people are so fucking stupid they wouldn't remember they committed it. Unfucking believable. I'm a true crime creator. Yeah. Don't pick on DD. Who's DD? That fucking drip drop fucking penicillin fucking fix your dick, bro. Unbelievable. Because you're talking out your ass. Clearly, if you're doing that, your dick's got problems too. Unfucking believable. It's insane. Unreal. He turned off his phone. He turned off his phone. He left his apartment. We got him on video. They lied about the time they had him on video. They lied in the PCA about the time they caught the car turning, and the direction into which it turned is a lie. The very first mention of the car is a lie. To you fucking guilters out there. Unbelievable. Don't pick on the young drip. I'll pick on anybody that becomes a target because of what comes out of their own fucking mouth. And I suggest all of you do that to me. Okay? I am not afraid to be tore apart. Let's do it. Right? But don't let me feed you the information you need to beat me up. That's just insane. Do it on your own fucking thinking. And I suggest a vast majority of people just wouldn't be able to outthink me in this stuff. But could have turned around. Yeah, could have made a U-turn, according to that Jeff H. Yeah. Stick that fucking guitar up your ass and take your Bible and throw it in the garbage where it belongs. Because you're fucking studying and talking about the Bible is because no one likes you. And you try to acclimate your fucking place wherever you can acclimate your place. You got 37 fucking names to get into fucking people's streams when they ban you, once they realize what kind of a fucking idiot you are. Right? What a brown-nosed fucking idiot you are. Why is Ann arguing about 7 minutes that are missing? Well, I think this, I don't know exactly. I know where the 2 minutes come from. The 2 minutes come from Pullman, Washington. Pullman, when he leaves the Tiptoe Apartments. Because there were two cars. One left at 2:42 and headed towards Moscow. One left at 2:44 and headed south. There's 2 minutes. I think the other 5 minutes, 17, 18, 19, 20. 17, 18, 19, 20. I think the other 5 minutes might be in there. They keep yelling 4:25, but the PCA argues 4:20 a.m. And I think what she's saying is those 7 minutes matter. I'm glad you asked that because I would like to know. I do know for sure. Maybe what's her name knows there, Lana. Which, by the way, she did a 9-hour stream, and I can't spend 9 hours with any fucking person like that. So I jumped in and out and paid attention to different parts of the court hearings. But I would wonder if Lana wouldn't know. Somebody should ask her that question. But the 2 minutes, from my understanding, is the two different cars that left. Huh. Yeah, well, Grant, if you're our buddy Jeff, then you slipped through. But you haven't said anything that would indicate that you are that twit. So yeah. I know 12 gauge was on earlier. I just told a priest on Twitter, what a jerk off you are. Someone get this dude some oil. He's going at it all dry. Fucking guy. Yeah. I don't have a problem with helping fucking people. But not 21 million fucking strangers, man. All right. Mikey S. What did you say? Hang on, I missed it. All right, Mikey S. It was right there. Yeah, I know, Mikey. They went crazy for a speck of dust, but the blood itself. Oh my God. 5.63 billion. Yeah, I did say that to that guy in X. I'll tell you who he is. Hang on. Here's what he said. Don't forget that Jesus was once a refugee. So were Mary and Joseph. There weren't 21 million of them, you ignorant motherfucker. You fucking jerk off priest. Shut the fuck up. Trying to compare fucking 21 million illegal immigrants fucking rushing into my country is Joseph, Mary, and Jesus, you fucking piece of shit. Anyway, same James Martin, SJ. Fuck you. You're a priest. You probably fucking were you covering for those guys that were diddling kids, you sick fuck? Anyway, back to the fucking show. Yeah. Yeah, someone left a little blood because there was a splinter on the railing. That Jeff would say anything. Right? Oh my God. Oh, verbatim. Okay, Joanne, thank you. Have they been released? Were they released? Have a good night there, musical. I caught part of Lana's live the other day where she went over. Okay. Yeah, sorry for the well, I'm not sorry for the verbal assault I heap at people. I mean, if it offends you or it makes you angry, those are just feelings. You'll get the fuck over it. Right? There's no physical contact, so and don't worry, I'm nobody. I'm just some guy on the fucking internet. Bruno Pelicano, Sergeant Friday, MS Spygate, whatever the fuck you want to call me. Just another person making observations of the idiocy that fucking surrounds us with the 5.63 billion fucking morons that exist out here. And nobody even gives it. I don't know why people don't call in. 585-454-9932. Show's been going for 2 hours. Fuck, longer than that, right? 10 o'clock. I started at 9 up to 10. Yeah. 3 hours, man. Which is definitely fucking long enough. So there's not much more I can say. My analysis is accurate because of the facts that have been released to us. My analysis is accurate because of the statements that were made in the court, in the hearings, in the documentation. Brian Kohberger cannot be located at that house on the night of that crime. And the story told that places him there is a lie. And therefore, the case should be dismissed. There was never any probable cause to charge this guy. And here we are 2 years later. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know what these people didn't do. I just can tell you that based on the data that's being given to us on how they process this, fucking all the information, all the facts, it's just a shame. It really is. All the lost time and all the effort, and everybody chasing ghosts, everybody accusing others. And it's interesting to see Dylan's statement, how wildly different her statement is than from the PCA. And you folks, you know, hearsay evidence is used in accusations, but it has to be a credible source. Ann is right. You can't have a drug-addled fucking person thinking it was all a dream, telling you a fucking story that contradicts the evidence in the house. Okay? And then alter that to provide her statement, to make it look like her statement is clear and concise, that it's reliable, that it was given to you by somebody that was of fucking sane mind and body. You know what I mean? It's just fucking crazy. She said something totally different than what they're saying. Then when given an ability to identify him from a lineup of pictures, she couldn't identify him at all. I mean, that's kind of incredible. You mean to tell me his bushy eyebrows didn't jump out at her and slap her? I don't understand. How in the fuck could she not have made an identification? Now we find out it was a ninja mask. A ninja mask. I at best had a COVID mask, right? That's what I suspected the perp, because they just said he was wearing a mask, clad in black. Didn't say anything about hair. Didn't say anything. So to me, we all need to go, oh man, this is kind of brilliant. Here, you guys want a stroke of brilliance? How many people know what the person in September of 2021, what the perpetrator of that crime had on their face? They were wearing a mask that covered their whole fucking face, which is an exact fucking description of a ninja mask. Do you hear what I'm saying? Now we know that the mask that Dylan identified is consistent with the mask that was identified a year and 1 month, 2 months earlier. 14 months earlier, in September of 2021, a masked individual entered a home of sorority or college-age girls, went into the lower bedroom in the basement with a knife in his hand and got kicked and fled the property. They were described as wearing something like a ski mask, which is now the exact fucking description of the mask Dylan told the police about this perpetrator. And now, when she's telling you the person was 5'10" or something and she's only 5'8", now you can even go all the way down to the description of 5'3" to 5'5", because that person walking from the common area had anywhere from a 4 to a 6-inch step up. The floor in the living room compared to the hallway, the bedroom, and the kitchen is 4 to 6 inches taller And you have to physically step down to go from the living room to the kitchen, and vice versa. When you go from the kitchen to the common area, the living area, you have to step up with a physical step 4 to 6 inches higher. Now, someone tell me that the description that the girls gave in 21 of September, the year 21, doesn't find more consistency with the description Dylan gave. Huh? And anybody following that? I know you haven't, Heather, but I'm telling you, I've made the argument before that the description of that gentleman from September 2021 fits the description, except now it fits more. When they're told it was a ninja mask, well, that covers your hair. It leaves just your eyes open. It covers your mouth, your nose, down your neck. That's consistent with what a ski mask does. They really should have investigated this hard. Well, that ship has sailed. Let's hope Judge HIPPLER, right? Yep, I agree with you, Mikey. Yes. Oh, well. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. What up, Luck? So that's very, very fucking amazing, isn't it? 2 crimes, 14 months apart, and now we can connect the 2 crimes through direct testimony of Dylan Mortensen. And her testimony becomes accurate because of the severe differences in the home. Queen Road, 1122 Queen Road, was built in 3 different phases, it looks like. Or at least 2 different phases. Maybe there was a fire there or something. But that was a 3-story home. And from the common living area back was an addition. That addition's floor is 4 to 6 inches lower than the area of the home where Zaina's bedroom was, where the bathroom was, where the living room was, where that sign on the wall hangs that people have argued about till their heads fell off. That area there is where the height difference is important. And any individual at about 5'3" to 5'5" walking towards Dylan would appear to her at 5'8" to be just slightly taller than herself. Frozen shock phase. She closed her door, locked it. And then apparently now they were texting about it. So, the question again, now that impugns, just so you know, to me, that impugns Dylan even more. To me, it makes the survivors more directly involved in some way, shape, or form. How, I don't know. But I think that would be a deep dive analysis that they should have done. And the fact that her story contradicted their understanding of the crime scene should have been paid more attention to. Mine is on the footstool with me. Look at that. Yeah, if people want to hit the like button, you can. I don't really give a fuck if you like it or not. I'm going to refresh my YouTube and see what I got here for likes. But it doesn't matter to me. I just like to come off, get this shit off my chest. And so there's 64 watching and 64 likes. That's awesome. How were all the doors open, but Murphy had no blood on him? Yeah, everything that you're hearing is just so contradictory to the crime scene that we've seen there. How did Dylan never got up and went to the bathroom? People are asking if that house smelled like anything happened. How could it not? Yeah, I agree with that, Poole. Yeah, it's not a fluid document. That is the document. Those are the arguments you made to get him arrested. Right? I don't know. What if somebody comes forward with a camera that shows him there? It shows that everything you said is completely wrong, and everything you said is completely inaccurate. That in fact, he walked to the house. I don't know how you would deal with that, right? You'd have to dismiss the case. But then, I don't know, all the evidence and all the DNA evidence, you'd be in fucking serious trouble, wouldn't you? Just imagine if that happens. These people acting like there's information we don't know. You people are out of your fucking mind. It's crazy. You can't keep information secret. And that which has been actually sealed and kept secret is all surrounding the IGG. The argument of a tip is all surrounding the IGG. Who is it that made the identification that it was Brian Koberger? Was that a private contractor? If so, that person's name is sealed. They're a witness. They're a tipster. They're the unnamed source right there. If we get it to 50, oh, when it comes to the likes, you mean? Yeah. Yeah, really, it just takes time, folks. It takes a couple of years to set up. Sometimes, depending on if you have an account that's drama and it's entertaining and whatever, then you could grow pretty quickly on platforms like this. Accounts, I think, that want the truth, accounts that want to take action, accounts that want to do things together as a whole, there's probably not much chance for an account like mine out here. And again, like I said, I don't need the money. I don't want the money. That's why it's not a monetized account, right? Let me see. I could see your girl getting shocked and freezing up for a second, but the shock phase ended the minute she closed and locked her door. And then the fact that she texted after she closed and locked her door tells you that the woman was freaking out somehow, and she could have been still in some kind of shock. It'd be nice to see what those text messages say. She appears to have. If Dylan was drinking, there was no way she didn't have to say half a dozen. Right. I mean, were the doors opened by the kids? Why does the PCA say that the officers went upstairs and they found the other two young women deceased in the upstairs bedroom on the 3rd floor on the east side, whatever the fuck they claim? I mean, how is it that they could wander through this house and come across? Did these kids open these doors? That's what it sounds like to me. And if all of these people and all of these kids came in there, then any sample that you found now is compromised. Okay, and the FBI treated your sample like it was fucking, it was like a Jehovah's Witness came knocking on their door. They were polite and they did as little as they could to get you the fuck out of there, right? No, they said that they came up. She said the doors were open, Mikey, and trial and the hearings yesterday. She had memory issues. She doesn't even know. But I want you to know those doors were open when the police got there. So we don't know what opened them. Who opened them? Were they left open? Why was the door that Murphy was in, why was that left open? Murphy had nothing on him, no contact or whatever. Was he clean? Was he washed? Was he dried? Was cleaning the dog the importance of the 8 hours? Was cleaning up the crime scene, right? Like Ann brought up that single footprint by Dylan's door. But they don't know that came from Brian. I mean, they're trying to use that to say that it's insane what they're doing. You think we're found in the 2nd floor bathroom? No, that's not what we heard so far. We've heard that they were in their bedrooms and both bedroom doors were open. I think the argument for the 2nd floor bathroom is that it would be almost unlikely to walk to that bathroom and not see the bodies in that room, right? Especially come daylight, right? Frozen shock face, she thought. That is kind of funny. All right, everyone. I'll talk with you again. I just wanted to do my Idaho. And I am a hoe. I got to admit it. Nothing wrong with being a hoe. Just keep yourself safe is what I say. Folks, live from the top of Cock Tower in Beijing, China. It's Your Ass Hurts News Network, your host, Sergeant Friday. I'm going to call this one a good evening. Thanks for all of you people that have come in. A couple hundred of you in here at one time. I want to thank you. Everybody be good, stay out of trouble, and we will talk to you again.